We're here.
We're here. One thing I forgot to do was put in the little we cut right into our shit, but whatever. I'll figure that out.
We're here.
Week.
That's the most important part.
We are here. I want to ask the chat room, how does the audio sound? How does the audio sound?
Are we on a delay at all, guys?
Oh,
with our voices?
Well, yeah. Do we sound
like
all right?
An echo effect.
Yeah. Do we sound all right? We trust the chat room. We trust them. Sounds good. Sounds great. Holy snapping crap. It has been an exhausting last couple of days. Tony and I trying to get shit worked out on this end for you guys. It has not been easy. We appreciate your patience. We are at the mercy of technology. Just so everybody knows, because I have received a few messages from people saying, maybe you need a new computer. It's not the computer. I got a great machine that is more than capable of handling live streams such as this. So, but there's, when you're dealing with software and you're dealing with servers and IP addresses and ports and I don't know. Shit happens sometimes, right?
Dude,
but
I thought we were going to be like Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder for a moment there and see no evil, hear no evil. Because Dave could hear me, but couldn't see me. I could see Dave, but couldn't hear him. So I'm like, all right, we're just going to have to freaking Richard Pryor this and Gene Wilder this shit because I didn't know what the fuck we were going to do.
It was insane. And then what ended up happening was Tony and I said to Tony on was it Saturday or whatever it was, or Sunday morning, we were like, well, you know what? I don't think Wirecast is going to work. Well, you know what? For this one show, why don't we just go to Google Hangout and we'll figure it out throughout the week. But YouTube removed the option to have Google Hangouts on August the 1st. So it was like, are you kidding me?
Now, it's not stupid if YouTube's about to roll something out of their own and they just haven't announced it yet.
Right.
But it just seems very dumb because of the way this platform is used with people doing what we do. There's so many people who do this. And it's like, why would you drop that unless they're planning to launch something here, which has got to be the only reason behind it.
That's right. Exactly. I would suspect so. But so it's been a little frustrating. A lot of curse words and swear words and a lot of swearing in our Instagram messages back and forth to each other. But we definitely appreciate your patience. And unfortunately, see, we wanted to do this show on Sunday because it was August the 18th. And both the
anniversary day. The anniversary day in the movie.
Exactly, because both movies, the 1973, the 2003, take place on August the 18th.
Yep. And we've been planning that for months. We saw this on the calendar. I'm talking like back in early May. I looked at him and was like, Dave, you realize August 18th is going to fall on a Sunday for us. And it's, Texas Chainsaw Massacre Day, and
that's right.
That's the date that's, used in both movies. And we got to go for it,
Exactly.
And just unfortunately, it sucks because it's the 45th anniversary of the movie. It's August 18th. We wanted to do this, fun show for you guys that night, but technology, man, fucking sucks sometimes.
We are at the mercy of technology. One of the reasons why I upgraded my computer last year was specifically so we could do these types of things. I mean, obviously, it also helps me with my career as well. But I bought a machine that's dollars because so I wouldn't have these issues. But hey, you are at the mercy of technology, no matter how fast or powerful your machine is. So, okay.
Hey, yes. I'm digging your shirt, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Well, this shirt actually, I got this at the world premiere here in Toronto. They were handing out on the back. It just says, or is it just says Halloween or whatever in the in the font of the film from last year. But when Bruce and I went to the premiere, we walked into the Winter Garden Theater, and we were I was taking video, and Bruce sort of went off over here, and I was paying more attention to the interviews that were going on just literally 2 feet away from me, Jamie Lee Curtis and Andy Matichak, and I was so, enamored with trying to get that on video, but Bruce had kind of gone off over here, and I didn't know where the hell he went, so then, 5 minutes later, I go off and he's got these 2 t-shirts. I'm like, where the hell did you get those? He's like, they're just handing them out. I'm like, that's amazing. And of course, it's an extra large, so it doesn't really fit me all that well. Although I put it in the dryer and it seemed to shrink a little bit, so that kind of helps. But
still cool. I like it. I like the font they used in the front, M&M.
Yes, yeah, 1878, you know, kind of that kind of thing. So it's cool. So Tony and I are talking the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We are specifically talking about the 1973 original and the 2003 remake.
That's right. 74. 73 is when the movie takes place in.
Well, that's what I meant. Sorry, the 73. Right. The 74.
The year of the movie, correct.
Yes, yeah. The year it takes place is in 1973. Of course, it was released in October of 1974. I mean, this is episode 35. I'm excited to talk about this. Tony, which one? I guess we should probably start with the original.
Oh, hands down. I mean, I'm excited about this because, you know, you're a big fan of Black Christmas. I like Black Christmas. What Black Christmas is to you is what Chainsaw Massacre is to me. I love this movie. This is the original VHS that I bought back when I was 7 years. Well, I didn't buy it. My cousin did because he was old enough to buy it. Right. Back in when I was 7 years old in the 80s, and I have it sealed up now because I'm trying to preserve the shit out of it. So because it's old and the case is old and it's falling apart. In fact, there's tape on there because we used to tape shit on the side here when the case would open up like this, to take Scotch tape and put it there. To still got the Scotch tape probably from like the 90s. It's been on there.
That's amazing.
But it was the first VHS that I ever bought. Very first one.
I love that's
this
cool.
is the very first one that I ever purchased. Ever.
Do you know what I think my very first VHS was? I mean, well, to be fair, it probably was something like Indiana Jones or something. But for some reason, I have. Do you remember the early 80s film Cloak and Dagger?
Yeah.
I still have that, and I think that was one of my first. But anyway, that aside, I love on the cover there,
Sally's eyes. Yes.
Sally, sorry, right. But I love how it's all kind of blue like it was in the movie.
Exactly.
You know, like I love that. That's just that's really cool.
I didn't know what the hell this was. I just thought the cover of the case looked really freaking cool. I'm like, I'm gonna buy this. And from that moment on, I just had a love affair with this movie, dude. I was that kid back in the day. It was cute running around my Fisher-Price chainsaw thinking I'm Leatherface and shit. Of course, now everybody be on the social media saying, his mother's a bad parent allowing him to do this shit. Back in the 80s, everyone was like, that's fuck.
Tony's lying. It wasn't a Fisher-Price chainsaw. A Fisher-Price chainsaw?
I just threw out Fisher-Price because I don't know the name of it. But it was a toy. It was a toy. No,
I believe you. I'm just laughing that Fisher-Price, you know, little teacups of chains.
You know, that kind of shit. It was the little worker shit that we used to have as kids. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
You get chainsaw, you get the hammers and stuff like that. And I had the chainsaw and I'd be like running around like,
that's
all that shit.
I gotta say, this movie is, it's I watched it actually this afternoon because Right. Now, I was watching it this past Sunday as well. But then I got caught up in all the technical shit here and I couldn't finish it. So I finished it this afternoon. I went back a little bit, watched to kind of get my bearings, and watched it again. Probably, I think I watched it last Halloween too, I think. But anyway, so, you know, it's like a lot of movies from the 70s, especially low-budget films. It's a little dated now. Even the original Halloween is dated.
Low-budget shit, dude. They made this for a pizza and a pack of cigarettes.
That's what I'm talking about.
But made a return, a huge return.
They did. And
for 74, I should say.
But I gotta say, it's gotta, like, it takes a bit to, if you've never seen it, or if you haven't seen it in a long time, there's a bit of a warm-up period to it, because you remember, oh, right, it's this kind of movie. Oh, right, it's this, right. It's a, you know, exploited, you know, it's like it's a low budget, acting's not that great from certain characters. But then about 25 minutes into the movie, you kind of find
their rhythm, right?
Yes, exactly. And that whole Sally thing at the end there, I mean, that is That's probably I think that's a lot of people's favorite part, is just that entire chase scene, but we'll get to that in a second. What are your overall thoughts?
Marilyn Burns, dude. Rest in peace. She was definitely the original Scream Queen. We'll talk about that ending there where she's just screaming for the last act of the film, and you can't deny that as far as her performance go. But totally true. And
the only reason why, the term Scream Queen didn't really exist then.
I don't mean literally Scream Queen, but you know what I meant. Oh, yeah.
No. I actually was, to your point, I was actually going to say that you're absolutely 100% right, in the sense that watching that movie again this afternoon, Jamie Lee Curtis eats your heart out. No offense to Jamie Lee, but it's just this is just, and it's because of the kind of movie it is. Tobe Hooper wanted to create just this mass hysteria, right? So it's just this, you look at the kind of movie it is. Just, and the close-ups and the, all the, it just that, oh my God, that mass hysteria. So if Scream Queen had been a thing in the early 70s, she might be the original godmother or grandmother of them,
Oh, for sure. I think the movie finds its pace right around when they show up at the gas station. I think everything before that, it's a little choppy.
Yes.
I don't know if they knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing, but it finds its rhythm there, and then the movie just kind of goes like butter throughout the rest of the film.
You know what? I agree with you. I think when you were first introduced to our protagonists, you realize, acting's a little
very green,
very wooden. And then when that, I like to call him the James Franco wannabe, who they pick up.
Which one?
The hitchhiker.
Yeah, the hitchhiker. Yes.
Yeah, how they pick him up and he cuts himself in the van. He just kind of has a James Franco vibe to me. But that whole scene in there, a little long, a little okay. Acting's not that great, but again, it's like watching Wes Craven's Last House on the Left, or the Hills Have Eyes. It's that era of movies, low budget, torture porn, exploitation sort of. It's a hiring low budget actors, not low budget actors, but you're hiring actors for on a low budget. And so
1,000.
exactly.
That's not even half of Halloween's budget.
No, it's nothing. So, but you're right. Tony is absolutely right that once you if you've watched the movie 1,000 times the last year, well then, you're used to it. But I hadn't seen it in quite a few years until last Halloween. I watched it again. I was like, okay, that's right. Oh, that's right. Oh, right. It's this kind of movie. And then you're bang on. By the time you get to the gas station, you kind of settle into a groove, and it's almost like the actors settle into a groove as well. Yeah. And it feels a bit more natural, as natural as you're probably going to get from there on out.
Sure.
And I love how there's the use of music is very sparse. Like when they're walking around the fields, you feel the heat.
It's summer. You feel like it's a hot Texas day.
Oh my God. But not just that. Yes, definitely Texas for sure. But you feel the summer, right? Like when we get heat waves up here, even, and you get those insects in the air that you hear in the summertime, that those, I don't know what they are. I don't know what the name of those insects are, but you hear them all over the place. We get them up here as well. It sounds like
crickets, but they're not crickets. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. We get them up here as well. And it's a hot day, and just watching them walk around the fields, and you just hear the sound of the lawnmower or whatever the fuck it is in the distance, and they're walking around. It's like,
true ambient sound of summer.
Yes, yeah, it's so great. It's such a great, just watching, I can smell it, that I really like. And even when Sally is being chased, I think there might be some sort of musical accompaniment there, but it's not like there's a theme or any sort of rhythm to it per se. It's just her screaming, running, and the chainsaw. It's just fucking great shit, man. Great shit. And genuine. Can you imagine that actually happening to you out there? Just how frightening that would be.
Well, that's the one thing they got right, with as far, and we'll get to the new not really new. And the 2003 remake is almost 20 years old now.
Yeah, it's almost 20
we say
years
it's
old,
a reboot, but it's a reboot that's almost 20 years. In fact, somewhere I have a VHS. They were still doing VHS tapes when that movie came out.
Oh, 100%.
And it's got the half face of Leatherface on there.
That's right.
But what Toby did and how he nailed it was, when you're inside the Sawyer family house and you're trying to envision what this, crazy redneck family would be like. When I see this movie, I'm like, this is what it's really like. Because when I'm out there shooting, doing photos in some of the backwoods, country woods of Georgia, I've seen situations like that where you've got people that you're looking at like, okay, yeah, these people look like they can fuck you up if you cross their paths the wrong way. And that's what I really liked about what they did even with the set design. I've been in houses. I'm sure everyone has. You've been in houses like that, whether they're abandoned or whatever.
Oh yeah,
and just fucking like really fucking creepy, but not over the top. And that's what I like in comparison to the 2003 remake. It just felt like they went to like the extreme version that no one, even the redneck of redneck people, wouldn't have a house like this.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that I didn't like. Whereas in Tobe Hooper's, the simplicity of it, the chicken hanging in the cage, spinning in the round, the bird feathers on the floor from defeathering, obviously, their chickens that they've cooked up. They just never cleaned it up. That's what
great.
I picture a real redneck family to be like. And they nailed it with that.
Yeah. And, when Leatherface is chasing Sally, and that's like one of the longest chase scenes of all time. It's unbelievable. When he's chasing her through the fields into his into the house and then out of the house and all the way down, all the way to the gas station, essentially, which is where the chase stops. There's many opportunities. Watching it again for the first time, again, like I said, I watched it last Halloween, but watching it with more of a critical eye this time in preparation for this show, it dawned on me that I don't think Leatherface is, I don't think during that whole chase, he's not trying to kill her. I think because look, you could make the argument that he definitely is chasing her to kill her, but there's many opportunities, whether this is on purpose or not, and if it's not on purpose, well, it works. They fell ass backwards into this, where he has ample opportunity to strike.
Sure.
Ample opportunity to strike, and he doesn't. He just kind of goes, like this, just kind of scare her, right? And
there's a reason for that Gunnar Hansen talked about in playing Leatherface. He approached Leatherface in the mind of like a child. Okay.
Right.
Perfect example. When you see Gunnar go up to the window early on after what he just did, he's looking around like this, and then he sits down and he's doing this whole rocking thing like a child would do, knowing that he did wrong. But here's the cool part.
Yeah.
Then he sits up and he's licking his lips, showing no remorse.
That's
because
right.
Any parent, now I'm not a parent, but those who have kids know when a child does something wrong, they know they've done something wrong, but let's be real, they feel no remorse for it. They just want to get out of being in trouble.
That's
and I like the way Gunnar played that with the character.
Oh, 100%. And he's chasing, you could make the argument that he is playing with her, but he also knows that he's supposed to be leading her to the house, right? And to where they're going to torture her, and everybody's gonna play with her, and God knows do what with her, right? So it's that sense of that he's not really chasing her to kill her. He's just chasing her because he's playing with her. He's playing with her because he could have killed her instantly. Many given opportunities, he could have done that. But he probably knew, because of his brother or whatever it was, the James Franco guy, knew how many people were in that van. And he knows that she's the only one left based on how many he's killed. So he knows that, she's the last one left. I can't just kill her, bring her into the house and put her on a meat hook.
Right.
I have to, daddy wants her. Right. And things like that. So there's that. It's looking at it with more of a critical eye, more so than I have before. That's what I see there. Now, again, whether there's certain things that I see that are conscious or just things that they fell into, which work, that's to be discussed. But certainly, as you said, in terms of how he played Leatherface. There is that there. You can see it when he's sitting there and, you know, he's got those awful teeth, you know, which are so put in. It's unbelievable. It's just awesome. I love that shit.
It's great. And that's what we go back to. And whenever I have this discussion about the newer one, the 2003 versus the original, the reason why I've always felt Gunnar Hansen's version was more scarier is the same reason why I feel Nick Castle's version of Michael Myers is the scariest. You know, when you look at the dude, Andrew Bernarski, who played him in the 2003, he's just a big fucker. He's a big ass bully, and you expect him that he can whoop some fucking ass, you know?
Yeah. And no doubt, if we were to see him in that environment, would be scary as fuck. I mean, absolutely.
For sure, but it's more of a bully scary. Right. Whereas Gunnar Hansen's version of Leatherface is more of like a fucking creep scare, like Castle's version of Michael versus to, you know, the later adaptations of Michael Myers, the franchise, and even Rob Zombie's versions of Michael Myers. It's just a big ass bully. Yeah, you expect someone who's 6'7" and Tyler to be a mean motherfucker, you know. Whereas Nick Castle is our height, 5'10", and he's able to pick up a guy like Bob who's about the same height and fucking stab a knife into him. That's fucking creepy. With Leatherface, you know, when you look at the way Gunnar, you know, is playing him versus to the way Andrew's playing him, Gunnar to me is more the creepier version of Leatherface, whereas Andrew is more the bully version of him.
Right. I understand. Yes, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Yeah, no, there's no doubt that certainly it's. I actually would have loved if I was. I actually would have liked to have seen a bit more with. Although. Yeah, I don't know. Let me think on that more, actually, before I say something about that. Let me think on that more. But certainly the environment, the atmosphere of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is terrific. If you,
it's got, you know, you look at Terry McMillan's iconic shot there, walking up to the house in the short red shorts. Yes. You know, I love that shot sequence and the tracking they did underneath the swing. You know.
Terrific. Yes.
And you know, the crazy thing, anybody can do a shot like that. You don't even need a camera. Stand at the end of your driveway, look at your house, and then just start walking up to your house and watch how the house becomes so big that it engulfs you. That's a trick that goes back many years in photography that even to this day, I still do subconsciously as I'm like out and about. And if I start walking up to a house, I'll do that, you know, and do that effect and look at the house and watch how the house just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's one of my favorite shot sequences throughout the whole movie. I mean, of course, Terry's ass is nice to look at as well, too.
1 second. Who's Zach Gaxiola says someone is putting out racist slurs about Tyra Banks. That's not very nice. Who is it? Who's putting out racist slurs?
How did we get on Tyra and we're talking about Terry McMillan's ass at the beginning of the film?
Who's the person?
Focus, people, focus. We're talking about booty right now.
Who's the individual that did that? And David is. Let's see here. Let me see.
Like Malik Warren. Oh yeah, he said something about us earlier about two middle-aged men that can't get over nostalgia. Blah blah. Blah.
Who was?
I don't know. Malik Warren, aka Devontae.
Oh, Devontae. Yeah, maybe it is.
You kind of learn people's grammar skills after a while, and you know who's talking behind
Okay, look, I don't see. I'm gonna have to get. I think what I'll do is I'll eventually have people.
Come on, I want to get back to Terry's booty.
I'll have moderators in there. Yeah, look, okay. Obviously, like, don't do that. Whoever you are in here, don't do that. And just like, yeah, chill. Like, I don't see what you guys are talking about, but police yourselves at the moment, and whoever is I don't know who it is. Malik, y'all. I cringe. Yeah, I don't know. So I'll have to pay the closer attention when we get to the
objectifying a woman is not complimenting her booty. By the way, that's giving her a compliment. Learn the difference. And if you can't handle that, I would suggest you probably might want to leave.
Yeah, get rid of the drone. Here we go. I don't know who I'm supposed to be blocking, so that's why I'm just like, it's Malik Warren. Oh, Malik Warren.
God, if that's the case, man, freaking Casey sure would be pissed at me every 5 minutes for the shit that I say to her privately in text messages. Woo! Some of y'all need to get thicker skin.
Well, Malik Warren, if you are the troublemaker, don't be the troublemaker, or you will be blocked. Simple as that. Okay, so let's see. I encourage everybody to debate and talk and have fun, but
I agree with Michael Myers. Yeah, we do need Thanos to snap his finger.
Well, don't worry. For these live chats, I will be appointing moderators, but moderators that will also not abuse their power either, right? So you can't just I can block anybody. No, that's just not how it works either. But don't worry, that definitely will be happening. Anyway, okay, so on with what we're here to talk about. So yeah, no, that's a great shot. I agree with you 100%. It was replicated in the 2003 film with Jessica Biel, which is also not a bad person to watch from behind.
Absolutely not.
Certainly the shot, you're right, because it's also a low angle shot. So when you have a low angle shot, you put the house in the background,
which looks small to begin with.
But then it becomes this ominous figure, this character in the frame. Right. And whenever you shoot anything from a low angle, the person that is in the frame is the actual the whatever it is in the foreground becomes an ominous type of present. So that shot, like the house in Texas at that moment anyway, is a character in that scene, and that's great. I agree with what you said. It's a great shot, nice tracking shot.
Beautifully done.
Even without the attractive lady in the shot, you just remove her altogether, and it's still a great shot, right? So
it's one of my favorite shots in cinema. Just the creativity behind that. It's not a shot that's used that often, which is nice because it could be overkill. But the effect is all in camera, and that's what I love about it. There's nothing, something adding in post-production or anything like that. What you see is what you get, and it's an effect that I've personally enjoyed and I like, and it's one of my favorite shot sequences in the movie. Then obviously leading up to the fact when Pam goes inside the house and she has her, confrontation with Leatherface, leading up to the second iconic shot, which is her just getting out the door, but then being pulled back in that iconic where her legs are spread open and he's pulling her back into the house. I mean, talk about a moment where she's so close to getting away and then is being pulled back in.
Right. Yeah, no, it's a great shot. And how frightening that would be, walking into a house like that and seeing something like that. And then he just beats like that first guy beats him to a pulp right there on the door, brings him in, and then just slams the door shut, and it's like, oh, fuck. Or was that the lady who did that?
No, it was Kurt. I think when he hits him a second time. That's the only thing I would have liked to see more, a little bit of a dynamics between Kurt and Pam. I know it's alluded that they're a couple, but you didn't really get enough with them. And I felt like that was the one thing. I don't know if it was because of time constraint or what, but I felt like you should have given us maybe an additional scene of them just kind of being couple-like, because you don't really draw to them as a couple like you do with Jessica Biel and her boyfriend in the newer version.
Right.
You get this sense of they're a couple, and obviously you see the ring and all that stuff later on. And in the 2003 version with Pam and Kurt, they're a couple, but you don't know where they're at. So that's really the only storytelling that I would have changed and added more to the dynamics of their relationship and whatnot. But the whole sequence of Pam going into the house and walking around the house and just really admiring the set designers of just keeping it very simple. I've said that a million times when it comes to horror films. The reason why horror films today are shitty is because they go over the top and they make it unbelievable. The reason why we continue to talk about these movies from back in the day, whether it's TCM or Halloween, is because of the simplicity that Carpenter and Hooper applied into their movies, because they weren't relying on the special effects and the sound design for the scare. They were really creating the scare within the camera. And that's the way you should approach filmmaking.
Yeah. And when you in horror movies, there's very little in a horror movie that we can relate to. I mean, very few of us have been, if any of us have been chased by a guy, in a chainsaw, or whatever the case is. So when, how you really get your audience is not through the sensational, in my opinion. I mean, listen, it's always fun to watch a horror movie that is sensational, and I don't want to ever take that away. They're fun they can be fun popcorn films. But with a lot of the older films, it's not really about nostalgia as much as it is about when you are limited with your resources, your focus then turns to, if you have a simple story like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, your focus then turns to setting the stage. And when you set the stage, because you don't have a lot of, resources at your disposal, mood and atmosphere and environment and, telling the story through the camera and following and being very pensive with a lot of things and, and it feels real. And because we've all been out in the summer like that, walking through a field, like we can feel it because the director and the filmmakers take their time, right? They take their time and with the certain shots, and every shot is calculated. And we go here and then we go here and then we go here. And I understand before somebody starts going, yeah, but that's not how movies are made anymore. No, I understand. That's not how movies are made anymore. I get that. But the reason is, I get it's things are faster cut now and bum, 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 bum. I get it. And there is a place for that. But one thing that I can't say you can't argue it, but whenever I see a movie that is in the vein stylistically of an old school horror movie, whether it's a whodunit, whether it's a slasher, whether it's a psychological, whatever it is, whatever sub-genre it is, and if it is done in the style of what horror movies were kind of like at one point, in terms of their overall execution, 9 times out of 10, people are like, I love that movie. Oh, it was so good. But they can't intellectualize and tell you why necessarily. Oh, I just like that it was really creepy. But the reason is because they're tapping into things that are relatable today to everybody. And then if they happen to scare you, that's great. And when I mean relatable, I just mean the environment, the process of things, being in a van, getting out of a van in a hot summer day and, watching people track through things and old abandoned houses. Who hasn't seen an abandoned house that you've been curious about? Like all these things.
I love that scene in the original TCM where and especially because when you watch Franklin's performance, the guy who was playing Franklin in there, feeling left out of the group, convinced by his sister to come along, but really feeling like he's an outcast because of his, disability. I thought, and you're right, with the whole being inside an abandoned house, most of us, who like that kind of shit, love going inside there and can relate to being young and exploring this creepy looking house.
Right. Exactly. And it's one of those things where, I've said this ad nauseum on this channel, that the scariest things will always be what we picture in our own minds. Now, I'm not saying that TCM is that kind of movie. It's definitely a slasher exploitative horror film from the early 70s. But there are certain slasher films, like I know Halloween is considered a slasher. I don't really consider it a slasher, but there are certain films like Black Christmas or whatever it is that can that leave some to the imagination. I mean, even, TCM, there was a lot there. It got going by the end of the movie and then it just got crazy. But there was a lot there leading up to it that was just all about atmosphere and creepiness and hello, anybody here? And you just hear the, the buzzards or the zzz, whatever it is. And it's just like, what the fuck's going on here? Very, very moody. And of course, that's like that because you don't have a lot of money to do anything else. But even modern day horrors like The Conjuring, we see that it's a much more sensational movie. But the reason why a lot of people love The Conjuring is not because of the sensationalism of the way that movie ended. It's not because it was based on a true story or true events. That's not because of that. It's because of the way Wan executed that slow, moody burn, getting us used to the characters, like relatable characters, family, you think something, it's all about that. Whenever you do that, people enjoy it and people seem to really like it. And it's because of of being able to bring the audience alongside. I saw somebody here said something about It Follows. a really nice example. Now, there were certain things about It Follows that I wasn't crazy on, but It Follows, same kind of thing, right? Very kind of, not a lot going on, very moody, what's happening. It's all about that. When you do that, when you tap into the psyche of your audience and bring them, and you put them in the same position as the characters on screen, it doesn't mean it's going to be a home run all the time. I mean, it does depend on this, the story. But TCM, those early horror films were like that. Yeah. Because they didn't have a lot else. They weren't reliant on jump scares or special effects.
No, it's so true. And it's weird because in the 2003 reboot, the actors are better as far as just acting in general, except for this. I believe Pam and Sally in the original TCM film are more terrified than I felt with Jessica Biel and the rest of the cast in the newer version. And because I felt in the newer one, I felt like it was acting scared. Do you understand what I mean? Like when the director says, okay, Jessica, you need to be this, and this is what needs to be going on. And I felt like she's more acting scared. When you're watching Terry and, Jesus, I'm drawing a blank on her name, Terry and Marilyn, the two girls from the original, I believe they're fucking terrified. They really are pulling me into them, their character. Now, they may not be the greatest actors, but in those scenes when they're in the house and they're screaming, for their lives, and Terry's being hung up on the hook, I believe that they are genuinely terrified when the Matthew McConaughey lookalike is hanging on the hook with his leg cap chopped off. And that reference, by the way, is the Dazed and Confused, because I totally felt that they made that dude look like McConaughey from Dazed and Confused, okay? Go watch Dazed and Confused and then go watch the 2003 reboot of TCM and look at the two characters. They so modeled him after McConaughey.
Right.
I don't believe he's afraid. You know what I mean? Like, and when Jessica has to stab him with the knife, I just felt like, yeah, no, you're acting. I'm not buying it. But when you look at Marilyn and you look at Terry in the original film, I believe these girls are fucking fearing for their lives. They may not be great actors, but I'm bought into it. And that's what, when you compare the two, the 2003 remake is a really good remake. It's strong. It holds its own. But a lot of it is acting, and I'm not watching people who are scared. In the original film, I almost feel like I'm watching someone with a handheld camera filming some real shit that's going on in Texas.
No, it's a good point you make. Listen, back, when you were actually shooting on film, and some movies, of course, were shot on even 16. I don't think TCM was, but there's a certain grittiness to, and look, when you're out there, it's not like they're being out in the forest was lit up like, a Christmas tree. I mean, it was right. So there's a grittiness to the actual quality of the film and a sense of realism, a sense of hysteria and confusion and commotion and like, what's going on. And, I mean, when it comes to horror movies, yeah, when you watch old school horror movies, it's different. There's a aesthetic that is creepier because of the
it's like the classic scene with Curtis. I'm not a big fan of Jamie Lee, but when that scene there and she sees Annie laying on the bed and she sees the tombstone and she sees Linda behind her, then she's out in the hallway there, freaked the fuck out.
Yeah,
I believe she's freaked the fuck out. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And but you're right. I mean, I don't know if I don't know if I feel the same way, because I have to think about it a bit more. But I definitely see what you're talking about. And what I like about it is just how visceral and raw TCM is. It feels very, like you said, it feels. I mean, again, some of the acting's not that good. Okay, I get it. But there's certain moments where it's very. I don't. That's not a really great example. I'm just talking about the way she's kind of running through. But when you watch it, I mean, it's very raw, very real and gritty, and like you said, if somebody had a video camera, or a 16 millimeter that was just out there capturing this horrific event that happened, that's what it would look like.
Yeah.
It would look like that, and there's something very creepy to the lighting, or lack thereof, and shooting on
there
film.
There was very little lighting from watching the documentaries and watching the cinematographer, or listening to the cinematographer talk. Very little lighting. They did a lot of ambient lighting, which is great. Well, that's my favorite way to shoot shit, is with ambient lighting.
Yes.
And the lack thereof really does set the mood. That's where, like in the newer version, I take nothing away from it. That's very staged lighting, and you can totally tell it's staged lighting.
Oh, for sure.
You can totally tell they're on a set, and that's not diminishing it and saying it's bad. It's just I prefer that raw grittiness that the original Chainsaw Massacre brought to the table, and I think that's why I constantly go back to it as a reference point from when I'm trying to think of something to create. And it's not meaning creating a Leatherface photo, but just in general, because I just like the way Hooper just brought it all together. Even you can say the very beginning of the film there, even though it was a little shaky and they didn't find their rhythm into the gas station, the opening shot sequence, with the corpse's body being dug up and whatnot, very effective, very fucking creepy. Oh, yeah. Did it really need it? Probably not, but I get why they did it. They were going for that shock value back in the 70s. If I were back then creating the film, I probably would have done without it. I don't think you needed that, because as the story progresses, your shock value, is increasing, and your tension is building up, especially when we get to the dinner scene with Sally and the Sawyer family.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's yeah, I love what's the guy's name in the wheelchair? Franklin, right. I love at the beginning when he goes down the hill.
I don't get that scene. I really don't. Like, they get scared because a truck drives by and that's one scene I would have loved to have asked Hooper, like, bro, what were you thinking, dude? Like, really? Well, like, what was the purpose of that scene? Just to show a dude in a wheelchair go down a hill?
Probably. Like, how fun would it be to have Franklin just go down this hill uncontrollably? Yeah, no, it's a definitely a gritty. That's what I mean. It's very raw. The first TCM, gritty, raw. I say intense, but
for a movie that's called Texas Chainsaw Massacre, very little blood. They didn't rely on the gore for a movie that you would think would have a lot of gore. That's what
an excellent point.
Movie scary. Like that. That's exactly why I don't show a lot of blood in my photos. You don't need it to scare. It's why Carpenter didn't do it in Halloween, and even Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one. There's blood. There's, of the three I just mentioned, that has more blood than Halloween and TCM, but not a whole heck of a lot. And for a movie that's dealing with a dude with a chainsaw, you would expect Franklin's death scene, I think, would be bloodiest scene. And you don't really see a whole lot. You get the idea of what he's doing to Franklin, and that's enough to create a disturbing feeling. That, to me, is what true horror is about. Yeah, okay, Terrifier was a great film. I had fun watching it. It's a fucking bloody film. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just a really bloody, and then, Hostel, another one. Saw, another one. It's just it's gore porn. And there's nothing wrong with gore porn, but gore porn doesn't scare me. Shit like in this film, and you're left to your imagination, that's what's fucking scary. Halloween, same way.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. And I mean, you're right. There isn't a lot of blood in that movie because, I mean, there could be a variety of reasons for it. That one could be that Tobe Hooper was smart enough to realize what we're exactly talking about. The other could be budget, and they didn't have a lot of money to spend on effects and blood and limbs and all that kind of stuff. That probably, that probably was a factor.
Would it have changed the film legacy if they had more blood?
I don't know. Not necessarily, but I just mean that could be a factor, that they didn't have, the resources to actually do it. But you're right. I mean, in the sense that it was just the sound of the chainsaw that did it all. You know, when Leatherface is chasing, Sally through the field, I mean, it's one of the longest chase scenes I've ever seen in my life, and it's intense and gritty and scary, and it's just the sound of the chainsaw, even when she's got some distance between her and him, and you hear it, like in the distance coming, right? It's coming. It's not backing down. It's getting closer and closer. And the sound is just, it's closing in. And where the hell are you going to go out there? You're in the middle of a fucking field. You don't know what's north, what's south, west, east. You have no idea where the hell you're going. And she manages, of course, to stumble upon the gas station. You think she's safe. And then, look what happens. I love that scene when the guy's beating her with the broom. That's so funny.
And again, you're not talking, A-list actors, but I got to tell you, the way these guys, Gunner and Hitchhiker, and I'm going to assume that was their father, right? Grandpa, they really truly nailed playing what a redneck is. I mean, deep-hearted redneck. I'm talking like way out in the middle of no man's land country. You ever come across people, that's what you're going to come across. And I'm not saying that as a negative thing, but they played that to true form. You know what I mean? Whereas when you get into the remake version of it, I don't even know who they're trying to play, because that's not what you would find out in the country, to be quite honest with you. You're not going to find not Remy, what's his name there? Ermy.
I know
you're not going to find someone. You're going to find that tough redneck guy. But if you're looking at the two families, the Hewitt and the Sawyer family, the Sawyer family would be more true to form of what it would be like for these types of people versus the Hewitt family.
Yeah, well, and I think that's just a matter of circumstance in terms that it's 30 years later. The way movies are made has changed. Obviously, the remake is more theatrical, in terms of its presentation. But I will say that the remake from 2003 is probably one of the better remakes out there when it comes to
no doubt about
Halloween,
that.
Friday the 13th,
Elm
Street.
When you talk about the big guns that have been remade,
it is heads above the rest. It is absolutely, unequivocally stands way above Friday the 13th from 09, Elm Street from 10, and Halloween from 07. And I remember seeing
Child's Play.
Yeah, that's true too. I remember, although I think I might put Child's Play next, but I do remember seeing this movie in the theater when it came out. The remake, of course. Obviously, I wasn't born in 1974, not till 79. But I liked this movie immediately. Having seen the original, I remember liking this movie immediately because
they told an original story while keeping the identity of what Chainsaw Massacre was, sort of.
That's what I want to say, that
because it is original. It's a new family. It's not the Sawyer family. It's the Hewitt family, and all the characters are different. Even Leatherface is different.
This is the perfect example. Well, I don't want to say it's the perfect example, but here's an example of when I say on my channel, like, take Halloween 2018, and I say that, there was not the character and the cinematography, the character and the execution continuity was not carried over from the original film, and it should have been, because you're telling me that it's a sequel to that movie. And I say that you have to make it your own, but you have to still honor what came before. This is the perfect example of that. It's not a now, to be fair, it is a remake. So the 2018 Halloween film was not a remake, it was a sequel. So I do have to make that distinction. But you have a movie here that the director, what was his name again? Naple?
I know what's his name. Brockheimer was behind the project as well too, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Wasn't it Michael Bay's Platinum Dunes?
Bay, yeah. One of the
Platinum Dunes. Anyways, the director of the movie, here's a great example of making it your own, but understanding what the source material is, understanding how to honor the source material by doing justice to what has come before. Now, it is a remake. It's not a sequel, but even if it was a sequel, you could approach it the exact same way. It's something that, like, I mean, it's a really good example of, it's not a beat for beat remake of the original.
No.
But it's honoring the original in terms of its style, in terms of its execution, tone, feel, you know, that's Leatherface. Now it's a brooding, okay, but it's Leatherface, and it's a Texas Chainsaw film, and that's a good example of that. And I quite like that movie.
I do too. Of like you mentioned, of the big guns that have been remade, Halloween, Friday, Nightmare, Chainsaw, Child's Play, and I'm sure somewhere down the road we're going to get Scream. Yeah. Of the remakes from those, because there's been great remakes, you know, no doubt about it, and even great remade horror movies.
Oh yeah.
But of the, you know, big guns in the slasher, that one definitely stands above the rest.
100%.
No doubt about it.
100%. And I don't care about the others that came after it. Texas Chainsaw, The Beginning, Texas Chainsaw 3D. I don't care about that shit. I haven't even seen them.
Oh God, Texas Chainsaw 3D. I never do this, dude.
Actually, no, that's not true. I did see The Beginning, and I hate that because it makes me feel sort of.
You're talking about Texas Chainsaw, The Beginning.
Yeah, the one that came out.
Jordana Brewster.
Right, the redhead that you like, the one that came out.
No, she's in the 2003.
Oh, she was in the 2003 one. Yeah, no, I'm talking about the Beginning one that came out in 06 or something.
Yeah, the Jordana Brewster one.
Yeah, and I was like, what? I don't. It was garbage. But no, the 2003 film was really good, and I thought. I mean, obviously, you know.
I thought The Beginning, the prequel, was okay. I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was okay.
I just didn't like the fact that I don't like prequels. I don't like going back and telling story. Like I like the sense, I guess in my own mind, artistically, I think of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's I mean, yes, we know that they were probably killing before that, but this was the first. I don't know. I just don't like going back in time and, oh no, so they weren't the first kids that were traveling out here. No, there were other kids that were traveling. And I know there were because you see cars and shit like that.
Oh, yeah, and the girl that shoots herself.
Yeah, I just don't need to see that.
Right.
You know, I don't need to see it. I just, it just feels like...
Here's the one positive thing I will say about the Chainsaw Beginning. Like what Friday the 13th and Friday the 13th Part 2 do, they feel like they're the same film. Made by the same people. They have the same tone to it, and the setting and everything in the atmosphere are very identical. We didn't feel too far off to the left. Like I said, I didn't think it was great. I thought it was okay. With the 2013 Texas Chainsaw 3D, that's supposed to be the direct sequel to the original film, I never do, but 2013 was a weird year for me, and I like kind of shut myself off of the world for a while. And then I heard about this movie coming out. I bought it blindly, didn't watch it, didn't know anything. I was like, oh, okay, this is supposed to be the sequel. I bought it off of iTunes, and I thought the first minute of the film was really good. I liked how they rebuilt the old, you know, Sawyer house. I love seeing Gunnar Hansen there in the window and whatnot. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Then went south really fast. Other than Alexandria Daddario was just fucking great to look at anyways. Other than that, the movie just went south really fast. And unfortunately for TCM with the Sawyer family line, there just has not been a good sequel for them because Part 2, okay, the one that Hooper did back in the 80s, the goofy one, you have to take it for what it is. It's a comedy. It's not. Unfortunately, I would have sat there with Hooper and say, you know, man, dude, you're taking a big pile of crap on your artwork here.
Isn't that the one with Dennis Hopper?
Yeah, and Leatherface is doing this dance number. And he's like humping the freaking chainsaw. And it's just if you take it for horror comedy, it's okay. But it really does take a shit on the original film and everything that Hooper did in the original film.
Oh God!
And unfortunately for the Sawyer family, you know, movies, there just not has been a good sequel. And everyone asks me all the time on Instagram, if I could direct a movie, what would it be? It would be a sequel to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. If I could get in my hands on any property, it'd be before Halloween, before Friday, it would be this, because I want to give the Sawyer family a proper fucking sequel because of the shit. Like Part 3 with the fucking Excalibur, for those chainsaw fans out there, you know what I'm referencing, the Excalibur saw. That was just stupid. I hated that shit. It was just too monstrous, too big, and just it took away from what the original Chainsaw was about.
Help me understand this. So Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003 was the remake. Texas Chainsaw The Beginning was the prequel to that remake.
Yes.
Now, Texas Chainsaw 3D was a direct sequel to the 74 movie.
Was what, in essence, Halloween 2018 is.
Okay. And then what about Leatherface?
That's the prequel to the Sawyer family.
Jesus Christ.
If someone correct me on that, because I didn't see all of Leatherface. I don't even know if I watched that. No, that was on Netflix, and I started to watch it, and I turned it off. I think that's the Sawyer prequel, not the Hewitt prequel.
I just don't like
Thank you. Prequel to the original. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
You see, I don't like, just creatively, I guess it's how my mind works, how I compartmentalize things. It feels sloppy to me to create, and I felt this way with Star Wars as well. Before I even saw the prequels, I remember when it was announced that Lucas was going back to do, I was like, what? Well, I don't give a fuck. I don't care about how Darth Vader became Darth Vader. I want to know what happened to Han, Luke, and Leia, because those are the characters I'm emotionally attached to, because they're developed, and I want to know what happened next. I don't care about all that kind of shit. I felt that way even before the movie was released. I've never been a big prequel fan. That doesn't mean that there isn't or can't be a prequel that is good or justified. But I always, from an artistic perspective, I always feel like, so here's the original movie. Now here's the prequel to the original movie. Here's the sequel to the prequel to the original to the sequel to the prequel. It's like, well, fuck, this is just a mess. You guys don't know what the fuck you're doing. You're incompetent. That's what this is. It's just a mess. It's just, blah, blah.
He's on a rant, folks.
It's just a mess.
McRae rant is out right now.
It's just a fucking mess. And it feels sloppy to me. When I think of creating movies, I like to have things clean and fresh. So it's like, here's the first installment, and here's part 2, and then, or here's part 3, and then, whatever. I don't know. I just don't like this idea.
Exactly why McConaughey and Zellweger never talk about Texas Chainsaw Next Generation. I mean, they never talk about that because it's a shitty film. And again, unfortunately for the Sawyer family line, they got so far away of what made this first film so good. Yeah. Like Dave just said, it's not that hard. Watch this, follow that formula, and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, and at the end of the day, I mean, well, here I go again. It doesn't need a sequel. I mean, well, look, Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Everybody in the chat saying the McRage.
yeah. Texas Chainsaw, you absolutely could make a sequel out of, for sure. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I get it. Let's go back. Let's tell how it became. I don't know. I just, as an artist, as somebody who watches movies and who's, writes movies and makes movies, I just don't like, it feels sloppy to me. So I like being able to compartmentalize in my brain the sequence of the story that's being told. And I think that's one of the reasons why I hate prequels, because I just don't give a fuck about why didn't you start with that then? Well, we didn't start with it because this really wasn't the original story, and then we realized that we could go back in time. It's like, that's a fucking bullshit. It's just anyway, that's how I feel about it. The remake though, I quite like, with Jessica Biel. Obviously watching 2 hours of her is, not bad at all, especially back then. And I did like, again, it was a modern take on the story. An
original modern take,
which was really nice. But yet it was still Texas Chainsaw.
Right.
And what's the guy's name that played the cop again? The sheriff. He passed away just a couple of years ago.
The Marine guy you're talking about, Arlie Ermey.
Yeah, that's right. Of course, he was in Full Metal Jacket. And always playing those kind of roles.
Get up, you maggot! Yeah. Is that his line?
Yeah, something like that. So obviously he plays that kind of a character really well. He was great in that movie. Definitely the hick. I mean, again, it's a bit different, but you could definitely feel the uncomfortableness of that kind of a movie. And I mean, what do I got to say about it? I mean, I think one of my favorite scenes definitely is, well, there's a few of them, but I definitely like the chase at the end when Jessica Biel's hiding in one of the lockers or something to that effect. And wasn't it raining? Wasn't it raining as well?
It was.
I think it was raining. Like, there's a lot of great mood, a lot of great atmosphere in that film. It's different from the 74 original, but it still brings it's a modern, it really does feel like a genuine modern take on the Texas Chainsaw story. Like some of it or don't like some of it, it's the kind of movie that I think most people have walked away from going, you know what? That wasn't bad. That was pretty good. Like, that actually feels like it's modern, but they've done justice to the source material. And that, whether you like all of it or not, like even you said, oh, there's a couple things that wasn't, that's going to happen, right? But at the end of the day, the bigger picture, you really feel that sense that they've honored the source material that came before it. And
well,
that's
like important. I said earlier, when I look at Andrew, who played Leatherface in the 2003 remake versus the Gunner, I'm afraid of Andrew, not because I'm scared or freaked out. I'm afraid because this dude's a fucking big dude.
Right.
When I look at Gunner, I'm creeped the fuck out. Okay. Right. And that's the difference, of the two Leatherfaces. I take nothing away from what Andrew did. He made Leatherface his own. He did not copy Gunner at all, which again, you got to give respects to someone who's, taking on a role like Leatherface, who was made iconic by Gunnar Hansen. And really, Gunnar and Andrew are probably the only two that you can talk about in the same sentence as the best Leatherface. Very similar to Castle and James Jude. With playing Michael. I'm not a fan of James Jude being 4 inches taller than Nick Castle. I thought that was the one beat that they missed out in the 2018 Halloween. I would have preferred a guy similar in Castle's height range versus a 6'2" guy. Having said that, when watching James Jude, I feel like I'm watching Michael Myers. Does that make sense?
100%. Now, the gentleman who played Leatherface in the 2003 remake, did he also play? Yeah, did he also play him in the 2006 and the 3D movie?
He played him in the 2006. I don't know if he played him anytime after that, but I know he played him in those two films.
And how was Leatherface in the other two films beyond that?
Part 3, he just looks like it's still late 80s, early 90s. He just looks like a dude with a bad mullet from what I can remember. And like I said, I just remember the stupid Excalibur saw, which was absolutely ridiculous. Although I do remember this. This is how impressionable I was back in the day. For those in the chat room might remember this. The preview trailer for Texas Chainsaw 3, which is just called Leatherface, he's standing by a pond or what looks like a lake, which really should be a trailer for Friday the 13th. And then all of a sudden, this big-ass hand lifts a saw out of the water that starts doing this fucking somersault, half gainer fucking nonsense, okay? And then he fucking catches it in one hand and fucking, but like as a kid, I thought that was the dopest shit in the fucking world. Today, as a 40-year-old, I look at it and go, yeah, this should have been a trailer for Friday the 13th, and this ain't as good as I thought it was. But at 10 and 11 years old, I thought that thing was the best thing since fucking Christmas Day.
I remember that. I thought that was so... Oh, my God, yes. I thought that was so cheesy.
But cheesy for a 10 and 11-year-old, it's cool as fuck.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, of course. But now it's like, what is
you
that
look at it like, really? Like, no. And it's like, no. And that's what I mean. Like, when you look at the Saw in the original film versus to as it progressed, it just progressively got bigger, and bigger and sometimes isn't always better. That's when you look at Gunner's Saw.
I don't know. She said differently. I
walked into that one. Yeah. So I lost my train of thought, but you know what I'm trying to say.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. In the original Texas Chainsaw, it just looked like a regular chainsaw. Right?
Very small, basic, it's like what I use in my photos. It's nothing,
Basic chainsaw. Now, in the remake, in the 2003 remake, I think it was a bit bigger, but it wasn't anything ridiculous, I don't recall.
You see Andrew walking with that thing down the road, one of my favorite photos, the still photo. He's walking. This thing, that blade is fucking monstrous. And the dude is a big dude to begin with, and he's got this big-ass chainsaw. That's in Texas Chainsaw, the beginning, where he's walking and carrying it after he used it for the first time. That stuff is fucking huge.
Right.
In comparison to what Gunner was using in the original film.
Right. And it's funny, and like
masks. I thought the masks were more creepier in the original. The kill mask, the kill face mask, and then the dinner mask, which I just got the final photos on, and I had it made, and I got it coming to me now, and I can't wait.
Nice.
Where he's got the makeup on and everything. Oh yeah, the guy who made this for me did a phenomenal job. I like those two masks better than what was done in the 2003 remake and the beginning.
Interesting. Now, in terms of the, what was I going to say? I lost my train. In terms of what would be? Oh, damn! What was I going to say? there was something I was going to say now, and I forget. We were talking about the chainsaws and blah, 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 blah.
Well, I started talking about Andrew versus Gunner and the size difference and how, I was talking about how I feel Gunner's version of Leatherface is more creepier, more scarier.
Right.
Because of the way Gunner is a big guy, 6'4" to begin with.
Oh, he's a very big guy. Yeah.
But he's a different type of big. You know what I mean?
Yes.
He's not.
No, he's a different type of scary. You're absolutely right. He's scary. He's scary, but he's scary in a
creepy fucking way. Like,
yeah. You
don't want to cross paths with this dude out in the woods if you live out in the woods. Like, you want to stay as far away from him. Not saying Andrew isn't scary, but Andrew is like more, he's just a big dude that can fuck me up type scary.
Well, see, it's funny enough. Actually, I'm going to play the devil's advocate. Funny enough, when I think of Gunner's version of Leatherface, I almost feel that he's somebody that I would rather come across than Andrew's version of Leatherface because of the type of person Leatherface is in the original. It almost feels like, because he's childlike.
Dude, this is creepy. I know where you're going with this.
You might be able to reason with him to a certain degree. So it's almost like if he was coming after you. Do we know what his name was? Like his actual name?
There's two names. He's Bubba or Jedediah. Okay, so like in 2013 sequel part 2, whatever,
right.
He's called Jed, short for Jedediah.
Right.
Bubba is pretty much the one that we all would prefer to Bubba Sawyer. I think that if you talk to most fans, that's cool. But Jedediah is a cool name too. Bubba or Jedediah is a cool name.
Right. It's almost like if you were to actually, like, if you, let's say you were out there and you're with him and you were like, almost kind of like what Ginny in Friday the 13th Part 2 was doing with Jason at the end, where it's like, Jason, Mama's here now. Mama's okay. And he kind of stops and he's just like, because before Jason became the ridiculous Jason he was at that time, you got to think of it in context. That's the only version that exists. He's still a boy in a lot of respects, right? Yep. And he's still got that mentality, and he's not all there, and he's not very intelligent, and blah blah blah. So you might be able to somehow reason with him, somehow, somewhere, trick him, right? In some sort. Now, if he knows he's being tricked and he finds out, he's going to be pissed. He's going to come after you. But you might be able to kind of do something a little bit that buys you a little bit of time, kind of whatever. Andrew's version is frightening in the sense of he's not going to play with you.
And you have no chance.
You have no chance. He's not. You can't just be like, Bubba. He'd just be like, and that's it. Like, you can't he doesn't get, I don't get the sense you can reason with him. I don't get the sense that he's like a cat that's going to play with his prey, and maybe that buys you some time where you can poke him in the eye. No, he is a beast, and he's just going to, as soon as he gets within 3 feet of you, it's over. He is going to kill you. Where the other version,
Sawyer.
Right. It's not that it's the same scary. It's scary, but there's a little bit of a little something there where you're like, he's not all there. He's as they would say, context, people. Context. I'm about to say a word, okay? It's context.
Careful, it's 2019.
2019. I'm going to say a word now, but I'm saying it within context, okay? Back in the day in Texas, they would call
the R word.
They would call Bubba retarded, right? That's what his family would call him.
The hate mail, Dave. Hate mail part 3 coming soon.
It's gonna come. Well, it's because people lack nuance, right? But when you understand, but his own family would call him that, right? They would call him, he's just the retard out in the sun. They would say that because of the hick sticky people they are, right? They would call that, and so there's almost like this. But you might be able to play with that because he might be naive on a certain level if you can tap into a certain psyche or something to that degree, right? Whereas the Andrew version is just brute force, where he's not necessarily, the R word. He's he might be a little more swift in that. So that's something to kind of think about, where it's like, who would I come across?
In preparing for the show, in the notes that I took, everything that you just said, in comparisons, the reason why the Nick Castle, the Gunnar Hansen, and the Jason Part 2 are more scarier is because you do have kind of a fighting chance with these guys. You could probably defend yourself and fight them off. When you're looking at Tyler, when you're looking at Andrew, when you're looking at Derek Mears, right, who played Jason in the 09 remake, right? You got no chance in prayer.
You mean it was Derek Mears.
Mears, yeah, who played him in the 09.
Oh, yeah.
When you look at Tyler, Derek, and Andrew, you've got zero. There's no chance. You have no chance in hell. No. It doesn't matter. There's nothing you're going to try to sell me as the audience watching this that Jessica Biel in reality is going to stand up against someone like Andrew. We know why you're doing what you're doing. I get what you're doing, but the reality is there's no chance in prayer she would have had a fighting chance against him. Now, Jessica Biel against Gunnar Hansen, totally different. Whoever against, Amy Steele against, Jason from Part 2, or Jamie Lee against Michael in the original. These people do have a fighting chance because there's a bit of human to these killers in the movie, whereas these WWF guys that they chose for the remakes, sorry.
And because
not scary. It's scary because they're big, but not scary in the sense of what Dave and I are talking about.
Yeah, and something to keep in mind as well is that to Tony's point in terms of the human aspect, you have to think of an adult, okay, who is the R word for all intents and purposes, right? And when you think, they are socially not mature, right? They're socially behind, intellectually behind. So so when you talk to them like you almost would your cat or dog, right? You can have effects on them, like what Ginny was doing in Friday the 13th Part 2. Jason, it's mommy, Jason. It's okay now. You can put that down. And he's there and he's kind of going, like any rational adult would be like, what the fuck are you doing? Shut up. Right?
Exactly.
But that's not what we're dealing with. Not in Friday the 13th Part 2. Jason became something more after that. But in that movie, that's what there's a little bit of that mentality there. So I think Bubba, in the original Texas, you might, if you can, grab your wits about yourself, you might at some point be able to almost reason with him on
you
some
might
level.
Even be able to fight him off a little bit, if you know what I mean.
Yes, because of that. That's right. Look what happened.
Saying you would come out, on top, but you could at least give yourself a fighting chance. You're going to fight Andrew. Forget about it. You're going to be done in seconds.
That's right. Like, look, the truck driver at the end of the first movie when he threw the wrench at him, right? It hits him and he goes down like a shot and he's all kind of awkward. He's not, he's a little awkward,
right?
And so it's now, if he didn't have the chainsaw, it might a little bit, you know what I mean? That chainsaw really helps Bubba in the original film. Not to say that he's not scary without it. I'm just saying, like, there's it's an interesting conversation there. One, of course, that is completely made up because both of these people don't exist. But it's fun to think about.
It is. And talk about. Franklin Stein here. We'll get to your guys' questions here in a second. He's asking, like, why do you guys think having a chance is more scarier than being I'm screwed is more scary? Like, wouldn't the second one be more scary since you have no hope or ability? No, because you're pretty much done. You're done. There's nothing you can draw out to make it anticlimactic. Whereas when you take something like Amy Steele in Friday the 13th Part 2 and Paul, who are fighting Jason, there's a tension that's being built up, and you as the audience are gripping to the chair like, fuck, what's about to happen? What's going on? You see the bigger dudes, you're like, everyone who's going to be in this film is pretty much fucked.
I think you're right.
But it doesn't diminish their scariness. It's just a different type of scariness.
It's a different type of scary,
not the creepy scary.
No, it is. And I think it depends. It would depend on the circumstance. It would depend on the presentation, where you are. But I think
perfect example. I just finished watching all these documentaries on Charles Manson. Charles Manson was no more than 5'7", weighed maybe 95 pounds on a day.
He was smaller than that. He was about 5'4" or 5. Very small guy.
But one of the fucking creepiest dudes you could ever come across. 100%. Ted Bundy was no bigger than you and me, Dave.
Yeah.
Same thing. Again, creepy dude.
Yeah.
Creepy doesn't necessarily mean big and muscular. That's not creepy. When you look at some of the notorious serial killers of all time, like Bundy, and even though Manson wasn't a serial killer, you get what I'm saying. These weren't big nice, but they were fucking creepy as fuck.
Oh yeah,
you know?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
I think what Dave and I are trying to say.
It's more Bubba's more psychologically creepy because there's potential there that he's going to play with you, so he's going to prolong your death, and so you know that you're potentially fucked, but the death is drawn out. He's torturing you. Right? Whereas Andrew's Leatherface, if he catches you, you're probably not going to last long. Both are just as scary. But Bubba's is more psychologically torturous in the sense that, but there's a little bit of hope there as well. But let's face it, at the end of the day, neither of these people you'd want to meet in the back alley. You know, I mean, that's what it really comes down to. But yeah, no, I like both these movies very much and don't particularly like any other movies in the franchise.
Other than the beginning,
I'll have to watch that again. I'll have to watch it again.
I can hang with the beginning. I'm with you. The only 4 that I own are Texas Chainsaw, the first one, and I own the reboot, and then the beginning. And then by just fucking pure stupidity, I purchased the 2013 one, blindly thinking that it would be good, and I never do that, and it turned out to be a shit show.
A shit show. Yeah.
I really love to do, like, I more than anything would love to do a sequel to this franchise, a good Sawyer sequel. I know it's been done once already, but by the 2013. But man, I would put I don't even need a big budget. I'd look at fucking the studio and be like, I don't want a big budget. Every actor that I cast, I'm gonna say, listen, you're about to go through fucking hell because this is what these actors went through in the first film. And this is what made that first movie so fucking great. So let's go kick some fucking ass.
Tony, here's what you need to do. You live in Georgia. You've got, there are certain parts of
set right behind me.
I was going to say, you could shoot in certain parts of where you are. Say you're in Texas and nobody'd be any the wiser. And what you could do, you should shoot a short concept video. And so it's video. It's not just stills. It's you get your guy who's Leatherface. You go to one of your locations. You get the girl or maybe a different girl or a couple of girls or whatever the case is. And you shoot it doesn't need a beginning, a middle, and an end. It just acts as like we're thrust right into the middle of a scene. You know, so it opens up and the girls maybe are walking through the field.
How can I make the chainsaw safe without hurting anyone? That's the key thing. Is there a way to do that?
Well, yeah, you don't ever have the chainsaw. You don't ever have the chainsaw going, or you take the chain off of the chainsaw. So
just take the chain off, and
take the chain off. So
that would be my only concern. I don't want anyone to get hurt. I want the chainsaw to be on for key sequences, but I want to make it safe.
Well, I would there's 2 ways you could do it. You take the chain, you do your best to find a legit prop that looks real, or you take the chain off so that when you turn it on, you hear it, right? And you see the smoke, but there's nothing there, right? Also, too, you can also do the sound in post, so it sounds more rich and fulfilled.
I'm just afraid because of that, because of how much you need that chainsaw as a part of it, that I don't want it to be cheesy because online they'll fucking rip you to shreds if it's cheesy. No,
not at all, dude. That's what I would do. Or fucking if you do that, send me the clip where the chainsaw is on, and I'll do the sound or whatever. I'll put it in there and see what you like. See if you like it or whatever. Like as long as you see the chainsaw and the smoke, or whatever it is, because they're gas, right? I believe. Right. I think they are. Right. Yeah. So as long as you see the puffs of smoke, because even with the engines on, the motor's on,
I got what you're saying.
Right. It's on. And as long as you're not showing like close-ups, of the blade, as long as it's kind of all in fast, kind of like, whoa, what the fuck, right? You add the sound in post, real chainsaw fucking sounds. That fucking shit's that's gonna like, holy shit, right? And it will sound much more richer than and unless you have a guy who's got a boom there as well and is recording all the sound right in the environment. But you certainly don't want to just use the mic off your built-in camera. Like you would want to have it.
I think I'll do that. The scene
is no longer than, I don't know, 3-4 minutes, maybe something like that. It's not that long, but it's just a nice little sort of kind of like, oh, cool. And then it ends where it's like, oh, fuck, you know, that's what I would do.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do that.
And it wouldn't take long. I mean, it takes some prep. You write out, you know, and you don't even have to write a script. You could just write a couple of page or like a page of a scene. Sequence, you know, where you're like, okay, well, here's how it's going to begin. Here's what's going to happen. You can tell your actors, whatever. Okay, you know, here's what I want you to say, or just kind of say that, or, you know, and then you just get some really nice shots, really use it as your opportunity to kind of, you know, get some nice tracking shots or whatever, get a drone shot of the fucking teenagers walking up, chase scene with a drone shot going through the fucking field. Fuck!
I think I'm going to do that. Now, I would probably have to maybe, I'm obviously not going to get the Sawyer house, the exact Sawyer house.
Oh, no. But make it your own.
But I would make it my own with the concept of like, if I did it, I would probably rebuild the Sawyer house again and, you know, not burn it down in the opening fucking act or the opening 5 minutes.
Right. Is that what happened in?
Don't get me started.
Are you fucking?
I'm not even fucking kidding. Like I sit there and I'm like, you rebuilt the fucking Sawyer house to a T, and you're gonna burn the shit down in the first 5 minutes of the fucking movie. Are you stupid?
What movie was this?
Who greenlights these fucking projects?
What movie was this?
Texas Chainsaw 3D.
And what year was that?
2013. The one without, like I said, the only two good things about that movie are the first 1 minute of how they segued from the 74 film to that, and then Alexandria Daddario. That's about the only two good things I can say about that movie.
Fuck. Well, way to go. Well, should we go into the chat?
Yes, and actually, I had a question here from someone that I wanted to ask because I want. Where the fuck did you? Where'd you go, buddy? Where did you go? Yes, James Morin, because I posted something like this on Instagram the other night. Do you guys rank Texas Chainsaw Massacre in the top 10 horror movies of all time? I don't know if the mass general of people would rank it. Me personally, it's in my top 10 favorite horror movies of all time for sure.
I don't know if I would have it as in my top 10 favorite horror movies of all time, but it would definitely be on a list somewhere of mine. You know, whether it's top horror movies from the 70s, whether it's top horror movies of the slasher era, whether it's top. But when we're talking top horror movies of all time, I tend to think of all the sub, you know, genres, right? So I'm just kind of like, I don't know if it would make my top 10, but certainly it would be on a list of mine somewhere. 100%. Oh, yeah, it's great. I love it.
All right, there you go.
All right, moving on to the chat room.
Did we have any super chats? I thought there was a couple that came through.
There was one super chat that came in way back. I don't know where it is now, though. I think it was just a comment, though, or a statement.
Hold on. I promised I would ask this question from Devin. Okay. Dude, on your next stream, which haunting movie is better? Poltergeist or The Conjuring?
Which haunting movie is better?
I don't think he worded that correctly, but I get what he's asking.
Yeah. They're different in the sense that one deals with demonic possession and one deals
towards the end. Yes.
Yes. And one deals with a poltergeist, but it's still a demon in The Conjuring. It's still a demon, right? Which one is better? Well, they're different eras. One is Tobe Hooper, even though people, if you read about it, Spielberg had a hand in that.
Spielberg had a big hand in it.
Oh, and you can tell too. It's a beautiful film, but
for me, it's Poltergeist. Yeah, even though it's tough because The Conjuring is my favorite horror movie over the last soon to be 10 years because that movie's almost 10 years old.
Yeah, 4 years. Yeah, it's hard to believe. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, Poltergeist is just it's
classic.
It is a classic, and it's
a good question. It's a hard question because they're both really good fucking movies.
They are both really good movies. They are. But I'm leaning Poltergeist at the moment. But I got to think about that a bit more. That's a great question.
They're here.
Oh, yeah. Super chat, Brandon Berry. Thank you, Brandon. Says, are you guys scared of future of horror with what happened with The Hunt? That's a good question. I think, look, I understand, and I don't want to get political, so we'll keep this light. But I'll make my point.
What are we talking about? The Hunt?
Brandon says, "Are you guys scared of the future of horror with what happened with The Hunt?" I will say this. First of all, The Hunt is not a horror film. It's a satire, film. But I will say there's horror elements to it. Obviously, the content in and of itself. But I don't classify it as a horror movie per se. Maybe a subtext somewhere. But I will say that I understand. Now, I don't live in the U.S., okay? But I do understand how just going to Walmart and being scared that you're not going to come back is a problem. That's a problem. And I can understand that with the recent events that happen and continue to happen in the U.S., that releasing something like The Hunt so close to that date, so close to what's happened, I understand. They're in a position where they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't. Because if they were to release The Hunt and something was to happen in that theater of The Hunt, then it would be, why did you release The Hunt?
Right.
But then if they don't release The Hunt, it's you can't let the people win and blah, blah, blah. I think the best thing to do is to not release it as scheduled, but to not release it at all is unacceptable. That movie needs to be released somewhere, whether it's, you know what, maybe we release it straight to Netflix or straight to VOD, whatever it is, it must be released. You cannot censor, you cannot start going down that road. Especially
it's a tricky and dangerous road, because if you censor it, where does it stop?
Where does it stop? And the problem you run into is that now Walmart is getting rid of violent video games in their video game section, but continuing to sell the guns that cause the murders next door to that section. It makes no sense. Now, I'm not saying that you get rid of guns in Walmart. That's not what I'm saying, okay? What I'm saying is that it doesn't make sense if you think about it. We're going to get rid of the video games that are violent in Walmart, which they were doing. Look it up. They were doing it. I saw it all over the news. But around the corner in the sporting goods section where they have all the guns, they're not. That's fine. That doesn't make any sense. It's like it doesn't. And I'm not saying that you get rid of them. I'm just saying that that's where you're at. So to answer your question directly, am I worried? Not yet. Not yet. It's not something I'm worried about yet. But it's definitely a slippery slope, because you don't want to start going down that world of censorship. And I do understand delaying it. I think we all can be like, yeah, I get it, because if they were to release it and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, oh my God, right? I get it. But to not release it at all, which I don't think that's going to happen. It's not going to happen. I said that in a tweet, a couple of weeks ago. I said, they're going to delay. They've said that, we're for that. No, of course they're going to release it. But then just release it on VOD. Or something to that effect, if you're worried about that. But it must be released. It has.
This is that movie that they're going out and targeting Trump supporters or something like that and killing them or something.
I don't think it's specifically Trump supporters. It's liberal elites going after.
Which the irony of that, it should really be reversed, because liberal elites are not going to go out and start shooting. It'd probably be more the redneck good old boys going out and shooting.
Well, that's
the satire of the concept, because I'm like, I just don't see that happen.
Exactly. It's part of the satire. It's not specifically Democrats versus Republicans, although you can look at that I guess the subtext of that, but it's specifically liberal elites going after rednecks in, the southern states.
Just that concept alone would be like, they wouldn't last a day with the good old boys who got their shotguns on their pickup trucks.
But look throughout history at all that narrative has been played out before in many films over the years. It's just, it is what it is. So no, I'm not worried yet, but it is something that tends to be on people's minds.
And Brothers of Man's asking me, have I heard of Antifa? Yeah, I have. In every video I've seen Antifa in, they seem to be targeting weak little conservatives like that Asian dude who doesn't look like he can really fight and defend himself. Antifa will never show up against, like, a biker gang. You'll never see them go face to face with a biker gang and challenge them to a fight because they wouldn't last all of like 2 seconds against them. They pick on weaker people in every video that I see them in. They come across like they're big and bad, like a dog would, you know, when they bark and they act tough. But I would love to see Antifa show up in the South with the good old boys here because they would get their asses handed to them in seconds. And they won't because they know that. So that's why, like, the whole Antifa thing, when people use that analogy, I'm like, well, let's put that in perspective of who Antifa targets. They target weaker people. They don't target people that are stronger than them. They don't come to the South. They don't come to the areas where we are located because they are more than welcome to come here. And me and my boys will be more than happy to welcome you in. But I promise you, you're going to leave hurting.
Just a good old boys, never meaning no harm. Trouble with the law since the day they were born. Dukes of Hazzard, everybody. Hey, there was
I actually
Michael
found
Myers.
a Dukes of Hazzard shirt that I can finally wear in public because I haven't been able to wear a Dukes of Hazzard shirt out in public because of the Confederate flag. But now I got one that I can wear in public because it doesn't have the Confederate flag on it.
Oh, that's good. Michael Myers says, Dave, have you seen Avengers Endgame yet? If so, what are your thoughts? No, I have not. But even if I did see it, I might be able to tell you, I thought it was good. But that's about it. I have I've only seen about 5 Marvel films out of the 22 films that exist. So I'm the last person you wanna ask what I think of all that.
I actually just watched not too long ago, and I just finished Endgame here recently. Cool. I watched that whole thing because I have all the Marvel movies. I watched it from Captain America all the way through. The one I thought Infinity War was better than Endgame. That's just my opinion. I'll leave it at that since you haven't seen it yet. The one good thing I can say, man, Kevin Feige, you know how to put a fucking story together from start to finish, and it's well done. Some movies are weaker. Like there's like a couple Thor movies that I didn't really like. I mean, I watched them, but they weren't my favorites. But they weren't like bad.
Right.
But everything, the way he connects that whole cinematic universe. If someone's looking to start a cinematic universe, that's your platform that you follow. Why Warner Brothers never got that with DC and didn't pace themselves and take their time, I don't understand. They fucked it up themselves, but they have 2 of the biggest IPs in comic books with Superman and Batman. How you fuck it up is beyond me, especially when you've got the Marvel Cinematic Universe right there for you to just basically watch and go, okay, well, that's how you properly put together a cinematic universe because they execute that very well.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with that. Kevin Feige's done a tremendous job, but he had years of Marvel experience prior to the MCU anyway, because he was helping to produce Marvel movies before there was an MCU. Look it up. So he's had lots of experience. I agree with what you've.
What was that super chat? PC Pierce, Tony. One night, Jessica Biel or Alexandria Daddario. Oh my God, Alexandria Daddario, and then some. Those fucking eyes. Whew. God,
there you go, folks.
And she's got a nice ass too. And I don't know, after Justin Timberlake tapped Jessica Biel, it's just like, I don't know. Justin Timberlake also Britney Spears, and just like, yeah, I don't know if I want to get into
that. Jason K says, Dave and Tony, did you enjoy that the first Scream movie used horror movie cliches and showed factual reasons why good characters weren't using the best choices as solutions? Did I enjoy it? Well, that was
seriously on that one. I couldn't hear you. Can you say that again?
Oh, sorry. I said
you're good now. But you were cutting in and out really bad. What was it again?
I said, Dave and Tony, did you enjoy? Sorry, Jason K says, Dave and Tony, did you enjoy that the first Scream movie used horror movie cliches and showed factual reasons why good characters weren't using the best choices as solutions? And I was about to say that. Well, that was the point of Screams. Scream was a satire. And a lot of people forget that. Now, there's an actual horror movie that's taking place, but Scream, in some ways, was similar to Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. Jason Lives had a lot of satire in there. Scream more so, but Scream was making fun of the horror cliches, and they were tapping into the stereotypes and all that. That was what Scream was. It was not quite a spoof like Scary Movie was, or Spaceballs or something like that. But it was a satirical sort of look. It was making fun of themselves, making fun of itself, with, of course, a somewhat serious plot underneath. So did I enjoy it? I did. Yeah, I did. And that was the intent behind it. So I don't know, Tony, did you see the same way? Or?
I agree, 100%.
Yeah. All right, Tony, you pick one.
Grave Warner did a super chat here. Take one to the bank. Conjuring or Insidious? I'd go with The Conjuring. I like Insidious, but I like Conjuring better.
Well,
I know you like Insidious.
I like the first Insidious a lot.
Yeah.
Insidious 2, I was thrown by how it was kind of like a prequel or something, and what they were doing again with it or whatever.
And what's his name's in both movies?
Yeah, he is. That's right.
What's his name?
Patrick.
Patrick. Yeah.
Is Patrick? Is it Patrick?
Yes, Patrick something.
Patrick Wilson? Is that it?
Yeah, Patrick Wilson. I think you're right. I don't know. Patrick something.
Patrick Wilson. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like the first Insidious a lot. I like the first Conjuring a lot. I don't mind the Conjuring 2, but I think the Conjuring is better than the Conjuring 2. Now, what the Conjuring 3 is going to be like, I don't know yet. That's coming out next year. Insidious 3, I gotta say, wasn't good, but it wasn't bad. It was interesting. There was a few moments, but I never saw Insidious 4. I thought it's gotten so far away from, what it could have been. But if we're just comparing The Conjuring and Insidious, I would probably take The Conjuring over Insidious. Just those first 2 installments. But I really like the first Insidious. I think it's a really
I like
good
Insidious
movie.
too. It's, not 2, but I like Insidious as well.
Yeah.
But I personally like The Conjuring. I really like that movie. It's such a good movie.
Super chat from PC Pierce. Thank you, PC. Says, since it's likely every King movie will be remade, if they remade Misery, who would you like to see cast as Paul Sheldon and Annie Wilkes? Oh,
Annie, my ex-girlfriend.
Hey, we're planning on doing Misery soon as part of a dual thing, I think, weren't we, or something like that? We were going to include that.
Yeah, we were. Do we want to talk much about it? I know we were.
Well, this is who would we cast in a remake to play their respective roles?
Okay, so I mean, talking Kathy Bates, man, she's such a great actress.
I would say
definitely not Melissa McCarthy.
No. Although I gotta say, I'm an unabashed fan of Melissa McCarthy, and I think she's terrific, and she's actually quite a good dramatic actor as well. I would, if somebody said we're thinking about Melissa McCarthy, I would say, okay, interesting. Let's maybe bring her in for an audition, bring her in for a read. She's good. She's really good.
She is.
Not saying that I would cast her, but I'm a big fan. I couldn't give a shit what anybody says. I think she's extremely talented, and I think she needs to distance herself from her husband director, who I know makes cameos in every movie she's in, and that's cute. But he's the director of Tammy. He's the director of Life of the Party, and arguably her 2 stinkers. You look who she connects with when she connects to like a Paul Feig, who did Spy and Bridesmaids and The Heat, and they're much better films, much funnier movies. So, and then of course she had the Oscar nomination last year in the movie that she was in, where it was a serious role. So, not a bad choice, but there might be somebody better.
How old was James Caan when he did that, roughly?
Oh, he would have had to have been in his 50s, I'd say, at least. I think.
All right, so if I'm thinking of someone, let's just say mid-40s, a male, because it's not hard to put makeup on to make him older. So I'm going to go 45 to 55 is the age range of the actors that I would look at.
He was 50. He was about 50.
Matt Damon, I could see Matt Damon possibly in that role of James Caan's character. And good at it. He'd be really good at it.
Kathy Bates was 42.
She was 42. Okay. So McCarthy, I mean, the more I think about it, I think she could get to a dark place.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think she could get very good with it. And you're right. I'm just trying to think who else out there that I could see besides her, because my mind went to her immediately. But I'm like, I don't. There's got to be someone else. And honestly, I don't know if there really is.
Yeah.
But in the James Caan role, Matt Damon, DiCaprio wouldn't do it, but you could throw his name out there, but he wouldn't do it. We all know that. Robert Downey Jr. wouldn't be a bad idea either in the James Caan role. I could see him.
DiCaprio would be very interesting in that role.
But DiCaprio would be good. I just don't know if he would do it.
Yeah, I don't know. No, you're right. You're right. That's a fun question. I'm not sure. I think I'd have to think about it a bit more. That's a great question, though. Yeah. Entertainment Wizard says Zach Gax. Oh, he's talking to Zach Gaxiola. Franklin Stein says Ben Affleck. The story is a Batman script. Let's see here. Deshaun Riley says Vegas Courier, but how? Oh, he's talking to. I love how you guys are talking to each other as well. That's good. Puppy129 says Dave, I recently watched Halloween 5 and watched your great Saturday movie night review. Halloween 5 is a horrible movie. Yes, it is. Richie Work says Millie Bobby Brown. Maybe in 30 years.
Hey, I just watched Godzilla King of Monsters too. It came out over the last week. It came out on digital. Cool. I didn't catch it in theaters. So
right. I went to the theater to see it actually.
Yeah, you had said that, and yeah, it was all right.
It was fine. It's fine what it was. It's fucking monsters tearing shit up. I got exactly what I wanted to see.
Pretty much.
Brothers of Men said, so recently you talked about a Halloween video game. Recently? And that was about a year ago. If there was a Nightmare on Elm Street game and a Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, what do you think they should be like? I think they should be like exactly what my idea was for the Halloween game, although specific to in relation to their specific games. Like, for example, the Friday the 13th game is open world somewhat, right? But it should be open world in the sense that it's open world at the campsite, right? So the Elm Street game should be open world where it's Elm Street. And maybe you can venture off Elm Street somewhere a little bit. Haddonfield is the Halloween game. I think the Texas Chainsaw game should be open. When I say open world, I don't mean you can go anywhere and everywhere. But you're not specific to just... Listen, I know that the Friday the 13th game is okay. But I want to see a fucking legit... I mean, like, graphics, like GTA Grand Theft Auto level graphics when it comes to Friday the 13th, Halloween, Elm Street, and Texas, like a game like that. That's what I want to see. I want to see that level of shit. I can't help it that when I play the Friday the 13th game, it feels like I'm playing it feels like I'm playing a computer game in 2002. To a point, okay? Obviously, the graphics are still really good, and you can play it on your PS4 now. But there's just something about it that I want to see that. So that's what I would answer that. I think I want to see legit, full-on, immersive experiences with these games. Like top-level shit. Top-level shit. Tony, how about you?
I'm not really much of a gamer, so I'm just going to trust your judgment and say, yes, go ahead.
All right.
I'm sorry. Right. I know I don't want to minimize that question because it's a good question. I'm just not a gamer. Yeah, so I don't feel like I can really give a good, authoritative question or answer. Like I know what I'm talking about because my gaming consists of like my old Nintendo and Sega Genesis games. And I have maybe 15 games total. Like I never was gamer, so I don't feel like I have the proper authority to give that.
And listen,
answer to that question.
I got a PS4, and the only games I play are I'll play my hockey every now and then. I'll play GTA 5, and when I say I play, I've had people say, "Oh, you play online? What's your online at?" No, I don't play online. I have no idea I don't know how to do that. I'm not pretend I'm your grandpa who just likes to sit down and play a video game every now and then to de-stress. I mean, that's really all it is. It's not, my video game days are long behind me, essentially.
In fact, the only game I've been playing for the last year is NHL 94.
Yeah, well, there you go. Sega Genesis.
It was one of my favorite.
One of my favorite, too. What a shock, being a Canadian.
Yeah. But Robert Lau, what?
Oh, what did he say?
No, he was asking us, Dave and Tony, scariest movie ever, real quick, Exorcist. There you go.
I would say that's a good one. I don't know, but that's a good one. Let's see here. Super chat from Crabtree FX 1981. Thank you very much. Says Dave, you like mood and atmosphere. you should check out the movie I Was the Creature in, Crawl or Die, made in 2014. We even had an LA premiere. Awesome stuff, Crabtree FX 1981. You were the creature in Crawl or Die. Is it available? Is it available online? Is it, can I order it? Can I watch it? Is it on Netflix? Let me know.
Hulu, one of the streaming channels.
Yeah, let me know, buddy. Let's see here.
Mark says, Tony, I was watching Friday the 13th Part 2 last night, and yes, I enjoyed Amy Steele. That is also in my top 10 favorite horror movies of all time, above the original. I know that's kind of, I get so much shit for that. Like, how could you like Part 2 better than the original? I just do.
A lot of people do. A lot of people do.
But hey, I like the original too. It would be like if I had a top 13, no pun on the 13, but it would be in my top 13, the original and second one.
Gotcha, yeah. Let's see here. Charty_Dark says Vera Farmiga as Annie Wilkes and
who?
No,
what? Wait, what?
Vera Farmiga as Annie Wilkes and Bruce Willis as Paul Sheldon.
Man, she's just in so much shit. Like,
well, and she doesn't like. I don't know how
she doesn't come across crazy enough for me.
Well, and did Stephen King, in his description of the character, was the description of the character a shorter, stouter woman? Because that might have played into why Kathy Bates was cast. Now, Kathy Bates is a tremendous actress regardless. Maybe they just cast her because of that. But it may have played into it. When King was describing the character, he may have described her that way. So Vera Farmiga, I just doesn't fit the bill. And so I think I would like to cast somebody that was sort of like that, because she needs to look.
She needs to have the kind of eyes that if you've ever seen The Wedding Crashers and the chick that Vince Vaughn hooks up with and is like, I'll find you. You need that type of crazy.
Well, but
that type of batshit crazy from an actress. Not that actress, but that type of batshit crazy from an actress.
And you also need somebody who can pull off frumpy looking. Okay, nobody looks at Kathy Bates and goes, "Oh, now she's a girl that you don't want." Look, Vera Farmiga. I almost forgot her name. She might be, to make her look frumpy, you run the risk of making her look cute frumpy, right? Whenever there's an attractive woman, just who's attractive, I'm not saying she's the hottest thing alive, just saying, but she's all right, right? Whenever you have a woman who is attractive, if you mess her up a bit, well, we'll mess up her hair, don't put any makeup on her, you still run the risk of having her kind of go, she looks kind of cute, right? Girl next door, kind of cute looking woman there, right? Nobody's looking at, no offense to Kathy Bates, but she's a certain looking woman. Nobody's looking at her going, now there's a woman I'd like to hop in the sack with. You need somebody who looks like she's a loner, that looks like she's struggled maybe. I mean, she looks like she probably was bullied in school, struggled with her weight. She looks, who knows? Kathy Bates was able to pull that off very well. Vera Farmiga? I don't think so. I don't know if I'm buying it, right? I don't know if I buy, it's like casting, not quite, but it would be like casting, let's get Jennifer Love Hewitt in that role. Yeah, I'm sure she was bullied. Yeah. And that's not to say that good looking women don't have issues or are not ever bullied. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just talking generally, if you're going to if you're going to be a betting man, probably not. Right?
I'm going to throw a name at you. It just totally came to me here. Octavia Spencer.
Not bad. I like it.
Octavia Spencer. You see Ma?
I have not seen Ma, but I love Octavia Spencer.
Yeah. You know what? I can totally see Octavia Spencer doing the Annie part.
Yes.
I could really sign up for that.
Now when you think of her, and these are just facts. When you look at Octavia Spencer, she's a bit more stout, right? But an incredible actress. And when you look at her, she's got a certain look and a certain, vibe that she could bring to a certain character.
Crazy and don't fuck with me crazy.
Yeah, I like that. That's not bad. I like your way of thinking. All right, great stuff. Grave Warmer, thank you for the super chat. Grave says, thoughts on Skarsgård playing another clown role? Another clown role? Oh, no. Not. I mean, maybe if he wants to dress up like a happy clown in some birthday party in some scene in some movie, that's fine. But no. He's he's too identified as Pennywise right now.
Yeah.
Let's see here. The A button says, do you think Rob Zombie didn't understand what Halloween is really about, or did he just not care? I think he just didn't care.
Actually, someone asked us here. The Manhammer AR-15, Mr. Dave and the T-Dog. Yeah, all of a sudden I became T-Dog and T-Bone on Instagram here.
You are T-Dog
and T-Bone. T-Dog and T-Bone.
That's right.
Do you think in the next 50 years someone will remake House of a Thousand Corpse series, which I'm assuming you mean House, Devil's Rejects, and Three from Hell? I mean, I don't know the royalty things behind it. Like, is it part of Zombies? You know, I would assume it's Zombies property, which means someone would have to get the rights from Zombies estate, because I don't think Zombie will be alive 50 years from now.
Well, it depends who has the distribution rights as well.
I don't know who would. It all depends on all that. But I mean, I don't see people rushing to remake those specific films that he did.
No, I don't see that.
You know, I like those. Well, I haven't seen Three from Hell yet, but I like House and I like Devil's Rejects. Three from Hell is to be determined on whether or not if I'm going to like it. I don't see people wanting to. It almost would have to be a fan of Rob Zombie who happened to get into the movie business that did it. You know, I don't see it. I just don't see it being remade.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, it could be wrong. I mean, someone may do it, but
I don't think so. I don't think they're liked enough, really, in terms of the pop culture.
Yeah.
Well, they're cult-liked, sure. But, I mean, maybe. You know, you never know. You never know. But I just don't understand. I don't know what you could do to improve on what he's already done. You know?
Yeah, that's true, too.
So let's see here. A couple super chats came in. Oliver Mercer. Thank you, Oliver. What are your thoughts on the Amityville horror franchise and its real-life case? Have you been to the house before?
Yes, I have been to...
You've been to the house?
We used to go there all the time and see it, Ocean Drive, which actually they changed the number on it because so many people kept showing up.
They changed the windows, too.
They changed the windows as well. I mean, but the house is still identifiable that when you drive on that street, you're like, there it is. And it doesn't look, believe it or not, it's in a beautiful part of Amityville, New York. Its street is just like any street you see up in that area of the country. Definitely nothing like what you see in the movie. The first film is about as close as what you can get to the Amityville vibe. The one that I didn't like with Ryan Reynolds is it felt like too much of like the Conjuring farmhouse that looked nothing like the Amityville house at all. I think they over dramatized what happened in the house. I think the closest we got to what the Amityville house sort of looked like as far as interior goes is what you see at the beginning of Conjuring 2, which is why I was hoping maybe Juan was going to go in that direction with Patrick and Vera playing Ed and Lorraine and doing the Amityville case. Because even though we've gotten a lot of Amityville movies, we haven't gotten too many good ones other than the very first one with Lois Lane, Margaret Kidder. After that,
and James Brolin.
Oh, that's right.
His Josh Brolin's dad.
I totally forgot about that. I mean, after that, it's just no. I mean, it's all shit shows after that.
Yeah, the Amityville Horror. I love the first film.
First one's great. It's great. It's about as close to what you would get from what the house really looks like.
Yeah. It's great. The actual story, I mean, is a fascinating one. The Lutzes, obviously, there have been people that have come out that have known them closely, or I think there's an interviewer as well. But anyway, it's a loaded question to sort of talk off the top of our heads, but whether or not a lot of what they said actually happened, I don't know. Usually what tends to happen in these types of things, 9 times out of 10, there are reasonable explanations for unusual occurrences. What may have happened is they did experience some weird and unusual things, but embellished it for the sake of their, books, movies, motive. I mean, maybe they did experience something weird, right? Maybe they did experience one night they woke up and they thought they saw somebody or heard something downstairs, whatever the case is. And then they decided to sort of, it's like a story. A lie keeps getting bigger and more embellished and this, that, and the other. Did it exactly happen the way they did? Where, and obviously the movie also takes a few creative liberties as well, like the walls bleeding and the floorboards moving. I mean, the truth probably lies somewhere in between, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it was literally supernatural. And and that's coming from somebody who actually does believe that there is, at the very least, enough circumstantial evidence. I say circumstantial now. Enough circumstantial evidence that does exist that points to that there's something else going on that we don't know about in this world, or out of this world, so to speak, if you want to use that. I'm not saying that there's a religious connotation to it. I'm just saying that I do believe that there's enough there that, you know, that there might be something going on. Having said that, though, is the story they're telling all true? I don't know. Who knows? I mean, we never knew the Lutzes. So, you know, and when you do read certain things about them, you kind of go, yeah, that's, yeah, okay, I could see, I don't know. You know, maybe they were those kind of people that would, I don't know. But that first movie, though, is creepy as fuck.
Well, let me put it to you like this. If I had a choice between both houses are empty and I get to choose between one or the other to stay in overnight, the Sally Mae house or the Amityville house, I would do the Sally Mae house. Because I think as far as experiencing some type of paranormal thing, there's more circumstantial evidence, like you said, with the Sally Mae house. Are you familiar with the Sally Mae house? Stories behind it?
It sounds familiar to me.
It's watch some of the stories behind it. It's a house that I've had on my site in radar for the longest time to go to, because I think of the two, I think there's shit that you can't explain that goes on at Sally Mae versus at Amityville. And if you were to do a movie on it, I'm surprised no one's tackled Sally Mae house yet. And also,
let's not forget that, you know, what's his face? The guy that murdered his family in the Amityville house. And that's right. DeFeo, right? Or whatever his name. That's a big part of, I mean, the Lutzes knew that. They couldn't sell the house because of the murders. The Lutzes bought it for cheap, right? And I mean, there's a lot of things that could have transpired under there. And but also know that the owners of the Amityville house now, who have lived there for many years, have apparently said that they have never experienced anything creepy at all. Nothing. They've been in there for like 25, 30 years or something. And they think it's a beautiful home, and they haven't experienced anything. So take it with a grain of salt. Let's see here. Couple of super chat.
Got a big one here.
Yeah, Dreed Mem77, very generous. Thank you, buddy. Dave, Tony, thoughts on the movie 1408? That's the one with John Cusack. Oh yeah, Samuel L. Jackson. I feel it's a very underrated supernatural film. Also, another film based on a Stephen King short story. Tony, take it away. What do you think?
I love that film. I actually just watched that not too long ago as well too. It's a great movie with Cusack. I like John Cusack. He's one of my favorite actors from the '80s. You know, Say Anything, Better Off Dead. You know, he played in a lot of good films that me and my buddies grew up watching. Just a solid actor. High Fidelity is another good film with him in it. 1408 was a really good movie. And yes, it is underrated. It doesn't get talked about enough. I loved how, for those who haven't seen it, I won't spoil it too much because it is a movie that hasn't been seen by many, so I'll kind of stay away from spoilers. But it sort of reminded me of The Shining, but it didn't feel like it was ripping off The Shining. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, no, I really like this movie. I think 1408 is it's a solid film. I love the fact that it takes place in the hotel. I love all the I mean it's well, okay, when I say I love this movie, that's a bit of hyperbole. It's not like I love this movie. I just mean that
it's a fun movie.
I'm not a big fan of John Cusack. Personally, he's a bit of an acquired taste for me. But this is a movie that I actually enjoy him in. And it's one of the better Stephen King films.
Come on, man.
I'll say that.
He gave her her heart and she gave him a pen.
I don't know. I think John Cusack, he's almost become like a punchline to me. He just seems like one of those...
Hold the boombox over your head. Stand out your girl's window.
I'm just not a big John Cusack fan. Now, when I say I'm not a big John Cusack fan, that doesn't mean that I hate John Cusack. I just mean that I'm just not a big John Cusack fan. He's neither here nor there for me.
Lloyd, what was his name? Lloyd. Say Anything.
From High Fidelity?
No, Lloyd. Say Anything. Lloyd. Help me out, guys, in the chat room. What's his name? Lloyd. Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank on his name. I'm trying not to Google it.
The chat will set you free. That's what the chat's doing right now. They're Googling it as well.
Everybody stopped and everyone's Googling it.
That's exactly what they're doing. Let me take it. Brandon Gregory. Yeah. Brandon Gregory super chat says, ever notice how older film series cared less about getting original directors back for the sequels? Example, Psycho, Jaws, Halloween, etc. Well, I think that's also because I think there's I don't think it's ever noticed how older film series cared less. I don't think it's about caring less. I think that it's more to do with the directors not caring about doing the sequels, because the three examples you gave there, Jaws, Spielberg had no interest in doing a sequel because he had already done it. He did the shark movie. There's no more to tell. Sound familiar? Halloween. There's no more to tell. And by the time Psycho 2 came around, I think Hitchcock was dead. So, and I don't think Hitchcock would have done
the 80s, right?
Yeah, I think he was dead. Psycho 2.
I think you're right.
Psycho 2 was 83. And Hitchcock died in 1980. So he died a couple years before that movie ever came out, and Hitchcock wasn't one to do sequels anyway. So I don't even. There may not even.
Do you like Psycho 2?
I haven't seen it in a long time. I got to watch it again.
It's all right. Of all the sequels mentioned, I do like Jaws 2.
Oh,
I thought
Jaws,
they did a.
Sorry, I was just gonna agree with you. Jaws 2, as much as that film, read about the production. Roy Scheider and the director of that movie, they did not like each other. They were at odds. Oh my God, that was they had this similar problems on set with actors and fighting, but you know what? It is one of the better sequels.
It's one of the better sequels made in that genre. Halloween 2 is good as well too. I do enjoy Halloween 2.
Yeah.
Psycho 2, like you, I haven't seen it in a while. But the sequels were solid. I don't have any problems. 3 and 4 with Jaws, forget about it. They don't even exist for me.
No. They're garbage.
Hey, this there was a super chat here from Ian Allen James. I don't know if you saw this or not, but it says, do you expect to see or hear a backstory for Billy in the new Black Christmas? ? How do you want to see him in the new film? This is right up your alley. This is your boy, Billy. For me, I would just say what made Billy so great in the first film is the less you know, the better.
I agree. And it's one of the things that I hated, even though Bob Clark apparently approved of he helped produce the 2006 remake. I hated the remake because, well, there's a number of reasons why, but I did not like that there was all this explanation to Billy's backstory. Now, they used some of the explanation that Bob Clark had come up with in terms of Agnes and all that kind of stuff, and they also took some creative liberties. When you're writing a story, when a director is also the writer, or when the writer is, whatever the case is, oftentimes you will come up with a backstory in your own mind to help you through the writing process. When you come up with a backstory for characters and things like that, it helps you in the process of writing the movie. So you know continuity, you understand, how this character is going to act, is going to behave, how I'm going to execute this because of things in his past or whatever the case is. It's like when an actor goes to read for a part. They may see a description of their character, and it might say something like, early 20s, blonde, attractive, is a bit of a loner, doesn't get along with friends, but it'll say all this kind of stuff. Mom and dad divorced when they were 10, blah, blah, blah. But nowhere in the movie do you ever find out that their parents divorced when they were 10. That's for the actor, to help the actor understand who this character is and how I should approach the performance and the execution, because there's all this history there in terms of this character. Same goes with writing a film. Sometimes what Bob Clark did with Black Christmas, he had a backstory to Billy and to Agnes, and which has since come out. It's it's not really canon per se because it was never in anything that was canon, but he talked about how Agnes was maybe Billy's sister, and Billy abused Agnes as a little girl, and Billy was psychologically deranged, and he didn't get along with his mother, and he was abused, and none of that was in Black Christmas. But Bob Clark came out and talked because it helped him through the writing process. So in terms of that's what I hated about the remake, was you explained all that when you didn't need to. However, to your question, do I think that there's going to be a backstory to Billy? Probably. Do I think, how much do you want to see?
That's the formula nowadays. So
that's the formula. Yeah. Probably. We're going to find out who he is, what his motive is, and all that kind of shit. Yeah, probably, because I don't think Blumhouse trusts that audiences, and maybe they're right, that audiences are not capable and mature enough to accept ambiguity and understand what truly is scary. They need everything explained to them. Blumhouse might be right, even though I hate that they're right. I'm not saying you specifically, anybody in the chat. I'm just talking in a general sense, the average movie-going audience. So how much do I want to see from the new film? As little as possible. But it's not off to a good start for me because I hated the logline or the brief synopsis. I thought it sounded like too preachy to me. So
we shall see. Hey, Michael Myers asked us, what is your favorite Batman villain? Okay, I'm going to be generic, but Joker. I mean, I know it's very generic, but
my favorite
Joker.
Batman villain would be Big Bubba Bootylicious, who appeared in the... No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, what the hell?
I couldn't keep a straight face. I was literally going to go on for like 30 seconds.
What universe is this in?
No, I know
there's like multiverses and shit.
I'm telling you, in comic, it's in a comic. He's Big Bubba Bootylicious. No, I'm gonna go classic and just say probably the Joker or
Riddler's cool too.
Riddler's cool. Yeah, the Riddler's cool, but you got to go classic. You got to go Joker. You know what I mean?
Harley. I love Harley. I mean, I got Harley tattooed on. I got her logo tattooed on me anyway, so Harley would be another one. Harley Quinn.
Yeah. Crabtree FX81, thank you very much. Says, Tony, wish you lived closer. Our wedding photographer backed out. Theme is Bram Stoker's Dracula 92. Very cool. And is at the haunted 1886 Crescent Hotel in Arkansas. That's so cool. Well, congratulations. Good luck on your wedding day. And I hope it's an awesome day. Although, let's be honest, the wedding days are really for the ladies. Let's be honest. I'm not saying the wedding itself. I'm just talking about the day. It's all about the bride and the pampering, and it's all about the bride. It's a very special day.
In my career as a photographer, I have only done 3 weddings, and they're for people that I'm not a wedding photographer. I never got into it. Never my thing. Sometimes like for this situation, and I appreciate the for you thinking of me on it. And yeah, it sounds like it'd be very cool, but you have to keep in mind, my eye is really trained as a commercial photographer, which is entirely different from what a wedding photographer does. Wedding photographers, they are constantly looking for certain moments to make sure that they capture for the people, because this is your wedding day and they don't want to miss it. And you're getting these photos to share for the rest of your life, and look back on when you're 50 years into your marriage and you're like, oh, remember this. And me personally, the 3 that I did were for people that I knew. And it was so small, very simple, basic wedding, very controllable. Anytime someone, and I get approached a lot, over the course of the year, probably I'd say around 50, 60 times I get people asking me to do weddings, and I turn them down because I know that that's not my strong suit. You know what I mean? It's not, I don't have the eye of a wedding photographer to ensure you, the client who's paying me, to make sure that you're going to get the photos that you're going to get for your wedding day. So I always encourage people in that regard, do not ever sell it short when it comes to hiring a proper wedding photographer, someone who's been in the game for a long time, because these are people who are quick on their feet. They know what to look for. They know what to like an athlete. An athlete is always trained to, and they practice because they're prepared for certain situations that happen. And it's the same thing with a wedding photographer. They've done it enough. They know when shit's going to fucking happen. Same thing with me doing commercial photography. I know, like, in a given moment. If, you know, the marketing manager at a commercial shoot is going to change it up on me because of XYZ reason, I know I can quickly adapt to whatever it is they're going to ask for because I've been doing this for so long now.
That's right. That's right.
But I do appreciate the thought.
Great points. Excellent points. Okay, we'll go to 10 o'clock.
Yeah, we got to give them a little extra tonight, considering the technical difficulties we've been going through here.
That's right. Yeah, 10 o'clock's a good round number. So another 11 minutes or so. PC Pierce Super Chat. What's your theories on the ending of The Shining? Oh, wait, you think we could just answer that in 30 seconds? PC
What's your
Pierce
favorite theories on the ending? Oh,
what's your theories on the ending of The Shining? That's Tony and I are planning on doing a Kubrick month eventually.
Oh, it's going to be a month. We're going to have to do movie by movie because you can't do it all in one night.
Yeah, we'll talk about The Shining. It's a loaded question. I mean, that's like me saying, so tell me, what exactly, PC, is your assessment on the different sort of layers that are, you know, in A Clockwork Orange and its overall bigger meaning? Like, how do you see that? Oh my God. Well, do you have an hour?
You know what, though? That actually, we were talking about this before the stream tonight when it came to not movies like Clockwork and not movies like The Shining, because those do have layers and meanings. But when it comes to comic book movies and horror movies, like we were listening, I forgot what it was, but somehow we were watching Scarlett Johansson talk about Black Widow and the evolution of her character throughout the MCU universe and stuff. And I'm like, you know what? Sometimes these movies should be just about having fun and not like adding these like in-depth layers to these characters. These are comic book characters. Well, it's the same thing like Leatherface. You know, like I don't need this in-depth analogy of who Leatherface is and why he is and Michael Myers. Like this is supposed to be fun. I understand the theories. I understand it creates conversation and opens up doors. But sometimes it's about just having fun.
I agree with you, but I will say this to your point. I'll say that when great symbolism in movies and great layers, when you are a well-read individual, you know how to write characters and utilize certain things in frames to help tell a much larger picture of what's going on. You're not supposed to recognize those things.
Right. And like Hereditary.
Right. And often it will seep into the subconscious of the viewer, and you don't, they're presented, they're there. And if you are quick to pick up on those things and bring them from your subconscious to your conscious mind, that's great. But often there's a lot of subliminal messaging that goes on, certainly in psychological horror and thrillers, that will make you feel a certain way. And you're not quite sure why. Maybe you're feeling a certain way or what you're thinking about a certain character. Kubrick was a genius at that, it can take it's not all about needing to understand it in order to get what's going on, because often they're there just to seep into your subconscious and affect you on certain levels. However, if you are privy to certain things, then it makes the watching experience that much more interesting, because you realize, oh my God, like there's certain things that my girlfriend, who has degrees in psychology and sociology, she's often taught me about certain things in movies that I've never even noticed before. And I'm like, oh my God, you're right. And she's just naturally inquisitive and intuitive that way because of her training.
And well-read into this.
Yeah. So she will pick up on certain things. Like we'll be at a theater or something, watching a movie that you wouldn't think would have that kind of stuff, like Ready Player One. You know, we'll just be watching it, and she'll turn to me, she's like, and I'll be like, holy fuck, you're right. I'm like, I'm not even, and it's not that I'm meant to, but it's there. And when you get filmmakers like your Kubricks and your Spielbergs and your Scorseses and your even Lucas, who was well-read in mythology and philosophy and things like that.
Biblical stuff.
Yes, you know how to utilize those layers. And when you actually understand them, it's like, or you're made aware of them, it's like, oh shit, you know what I mean? Like, wow, like, you know, like that's why when I love talking about that stuff as it relates to certain, doesn't mean that They're always there. But when you look at certain stuff and then you do a bit of digging and you find out from the director and the filmmaker, oh shit, I was right. They were doing that. Oh, that's so cool. I picked up on it, right? That's the best stuff. That's the best stuff. And then you'll never watch the movie the same again. And you're like, oh, it's almost like they're little Easter eggs that are telling you things about the narrative and about the characters that are happening around the much larger picture without you even knowing it, and it's really cool when it's done right.
Sure is.
And Kubrick was a master at that.
He no argument there.
Fuck, you just wait till we get into the Kubrick shit. Look out.
Bradley Heath, what did you guys think about the Departed Scorsese episode in the future? I mean, anything's possible in the future as far as episodes go. Scorsese would be another director that we could literally spend a couple weeks on with his filmography. Departed, I loved it. It was, DiCaprio, movie with Damon and Wahlberg. Set in Boston, dealing with the, Nicholson was supposed to be Whitey Ford, I think Whitey Blanchard, right? I said Whitey
something
Ford.
Like that. We should do. Do you know
something like that? I think it's the mob guy's name is Whitey something.
Yeah. Do you know what we should do, Tony? We should do maybe maybe once a month over the next, not starting now, I just mean soon in the future, we'll take once a month and we pick an influential director. Yeah. So we do Kubrick, and then we'll do Spielberg, and then Scorsese, and then even Nolan or Lucas or, whatever it is. You know what I mean? That would be kind of fun to do.
That'd be fun. There you go. See what you guys did? Tarantino.
Yeah, Tarantino, Carpenter, Craven, Hitchcock. Oh, fuck. Fuck that shit, man.
See, you guys just spawned a new episode idea for us.
There you go. That. PC Pierce says, too deep of a question. Fine. Burgers or hot dogs? I think I'm a bit of a burger guy, unless I'm in downtown Toronto and I'm getting the street meat. That's some good shit there.
Yeah, it's a mood for me. It's a mood. I could be in a hot dog mood and totally, I think for me, hot dogs when I'm at a baseball game is usually where it's my go-to snack. It just seems like a hot dog and a soft drink at a ball game, baseball game specifically. Just it's a perfect marriage.
Yeah, I get it.
Burgers, love it in the sense of just cooking out with your boys and family. Hot summer day, or even the fall here in the South, you can still get away with cookouts. I think they both have their place at the right moment. So because I like them both. It just depends on, I would say, the atmosphere that I'm in.
Right. Let's see here. Zach Axiola says, at Dave McRae, it doesn't make sense that Independence Day Resurgence 2016 can be considered a box office bomb, even though it made $389 million worldwide against $165 million budget. Your thoughts? Oh, well, what you have to remember is that
don't forget marketing expense.
The budget of $165 million does not include marketing. So what ends up happening is that when you have a big blockbuster, now this is all dependent, okay? It varies, depends on the production. But generally, when you have a gigantic blockbuster like an Independence Day that's going to cost you between 150 to 200 million, you usually have to double, sometimes triple your budget for your marketing. So it cost $165 million to make. That's the production, paying the actors, the set, all that kind of stuff. And then it probably I'd add another 200, maybe $250 million on top of that for marketing. So then, you're looking at what, 250 to, you're looking at over 400 million, maybe it probably needed to make about 500 million to break even. And that's why it's considered a flop. So, I mean, take Halloween, right? The 2018 film cost $10 million. That was their budget. But it probably was about $20-30 million when you factor in marketing. So the 2018 film didn't break even until it hit probably about $35-40 million. And then it started to become profitable. So you have to remember that it's usually double your production budget is usually what a studio ends up spending on marketing. That's a general ballpark, and sometimes it's triple depending on the movie. So that's why. Keep that in mind.
The Manhammer AR-15. He asked us a couple times. I'll make sure we get it. Dave and Tony, how do you guys feel about Art the Clown? Art the Clown, the killer from Terrifier.
I still haven't watched it. I gotta watch it.
I like him enough that my guy here in Georgia's making me a costume. So that tells you right there how I feel about the character. That I'm going to use him as part of my Instagram feed.
When I was at the 40th anniversary Halloween convention, I met a gentleman by the name of Michael Levy, who runs Fuzz and the Lens Productions out of Staten Island, New York, I believe.
Is he the guy who did the movie?
Well, he's one of the producers on it, and okay. I think he was in it. I think he was also in it. And he had a death scene, I believe. Anyway, they're in the middle of, I believe they've entered production right now on the sequel. Yeah. So he's been posting all about it, and I feel bad. I hope he's not watching. I haven't watched it yet, Michael. I'm sorry. I swear I'm gonna watch it.
But what I do like about Terrifier is it is a great callback to old school horror films, and why we're not doing enough of this. Now, I'm not a fan of blood and gore, and there's a little bit of blood and gore in this, okay? I mean, but I understand why, and it has its place.
Yes.
No argument there. It has its place. But it's good, and it's a great callback to that type of like Nightmare on Elm Street vibe to it that we have not seen in a horror film in a really, really long time. And it's cool that these guys are getting a sequel. And as far as the character goes, I love it enough to add him to my Instagram feed.
Very cool. Yeah, I got to watch it. I watched the trailer for it, and I was like, okay, I got to watch this. All right, couple more here. Let's see. Did I miss a super chat? No, I don't think I did. All right. But a couple more here. See, Richie Ward.
Michael Anderson. Would you have a beer with Bill Clinton or Bernie Sanders? Bill would be more fun. Bernie yells too much. Probably Bill, because I know I'm going to get a BJ from a lady by the end of the night.
I thought you were gonna say Bill, because I know I'm gonna get a BJ from Bill at the end of the night.
From one of Bill's interns.
No, from Bill himself. Why the hell
not? No, not Bill. Bill can go blow his saxophone.
I love it. Richie Work says work. It's work, Dave. Says, what's your thoughts about Disney running everything? 5 films, it's made over $5 billion. I'm not a big fan of it. I understand it from a business perspective, but to monopolize, I want variety. I want different styles and things like that. So I'm not a big. I've thought about doing a video specifically talking about that, so I won't go too into detail here, but I understand it. I get why they're doing it, but I've never been a big fan of it. And it's kind of sad from a nostalgic perspective now that, 20th Century Fox is essentially no longer. So that's just a personal thing.
Film Addict Theater. Can't talk. Film Addict. Thoughts on Peter Jackson's King Kong?
Oh, I loved it.
I haven't seen that in a little bit. That's the Jack Black one, right?
Yeah, I actually
thought it was good.
Yeah, I actually quite liked that movie a lot. Yeah, I saw it in the theater when it came out, and I actually liked it.
Dad in the theater too. Yeah.
I thought Kong, I think that was Serkis again, Andy Serkis, and Kong just looks so
right.
great.
It was Andy Serkis.
He was great. He's fucking great.
He's the king of the monkeys. Andy
that's
Serkis.
Right. Let's see here. But
of the two, I gotta say he's probably better as Caesar. That we need to do a Planet of the Apes current trilogy.
Oh, maybe okay. Maybe
to do Planet of the Apes. I like the originals. Don't get me wrong. I do like the originals, but I would really love. I think maybe towards winter we can do the trilogy of the Planet of the Apes, because I really do like those 3 films.
Right. I wouldn't mind doing maybe an episode where we combine the original Planet of the Apes with something else. That might be kind of cool.
Do that too. Yeah.
Do a double feature, maybe Planet of the Apes and I don't know, some other, not 2001 because that's too intense for a double feature, but like Planet of the Apes and another sci-fi, something from that time period or something. That might be kind of cool.
Oh, hey, Michelle asked you a question about, do you think you'll ever, Michelle Mark, hey, do you think you'll ever make The Shape 2 in the future or not?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I think it, because there would be no reason to, really. I mean, what I would be interested in doing actually is turning my sequel concept idea video into a full-fledged, almost like it's an audio theater of the mind, like you're listening to almost an audio book, but with full-on sound effects and actors playing the different roles and all that. That would take a lot of work. But I would probably do that before I would do any sequel or something. Because no, sorry, no. I also wouldn't do a sequel because sorry, I'm having a major brain fart. Well, I wouldn't do a sequel because the whole purpose of the Shape was to end Halloween. It was to end it. It was over. It was done. So there is no sequel. There is no more. So yeah, of course, yeah. Anyway,
Richie Wark, do you guys watch or talk to Dumb Drums or Cody Leach? I think you guys would get along, and it would be a good stream. Well, Dave, you've been with them guys on streams a few times.
I have, yeah. I've talked to both Cody Leach and...
What's his real name in real life? Lee, right?
Lee, yeah, Lee McCoy. Yeah, no, Lee's invited me on the Hallow stream a couple of times, 3 times, I guess, with Cody and Mike and Jay from Wham, and we've all had a good time. Cody and I have often, we've talked about doing a joint video where we rant about a Halloween film that we don't like. That's still, sorry?
No, I'm picturing that in my mind.
Oh yeah. No, we definitely. As far as I know, I think we would still want to do that. I think that would be a lot of fun. So no, I've never had any issues with either of them. So
yeah,
I don't talk to them, but you see, I'm not close with Cody or Lee or the guys at Wham. Like I don't know what they're uploading. I mean, I'm subscribed to them, so I will see them upload, but I don't necessarily watch every video they upload, just as I'm sure that they don't watch, every video I upload, right? I mean, why would you? But I don't talk to them that often, so I'm not really close with them, but I'm not on bad terms with them or anything. It's just like, the nature. I'm doing my thing, they're doing their thing. So
like what we do, we talk over the course of the week and shit, like on Instagram.
Yeah, Tony and I are much closer than I am with the
yeah,
other guys.
I mean, same thing, like what he says. I'm subscribed to Wham, I'm subscribed to Cody, I'm subscribed to Lee, and Dave. Because Dave, if it's Halloween, I'm pretty much going to watch Dave. I don't do videos anymore, and so I leave it up to those guys to go and do that shit. But if it's anything Halloween related, I'll probably go to Dave. Then go over to Wham because it's pretty much going to be the same, but just a different perspective. If I want a good review, I'll probably go over to Cody because Cody definitely goes in. He does a lot of reviews.
He does.
He's very good at movie reviews. Lee, honestly, I don't watch enough. It's just because there's only so many hours in the day that I can get videos. And did he take a break? For a little bit, he took a little time off. I thought maybe I could be wrong on that. I don't want to automatically assume something where I'm wrong on it, but I thought he took a break.
Sure.
But of the 4 of you guys, it's probably I'll watch you first when it comes to Halloween news stuff, then Wham, then Cody. If it's movie review stuff, because you're not doing Endgame reviews or Avengers stuff, but Cody will. Cody will do that stuff, and I'll put it this way: I'll watch Cody before I'll watch John Campion.
Yeah.
There you go. So, that says it.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. I'll watch Cody or Lee or the guys at Wham to find out what they thought of a movie, because I don't do reviews. Right, exactly. So, but I don't watch all their videos because they're reviewing movies that sometimes I don't really care about, or I don't care to see. So, I recently watched Cody's review of the original Psycho from 1960 because that's a movie that I quite like. So I watched it and I sent him a message just saying, hey, awesome review. Yeah, no, he's very good. He's found a sweet spot. So he's doing great. Okay, couple more questions.
Chris Stuckman. No, I hate that tool.
Chris Stuckman. I think I know who that is.
Yeah, he had a comment saying that the original Child's Play wasn't a classic film, and that pretty much lost all credibility right there for me.
Oh, I haven't.
Yeah, when he made that comment, I'm like, I don't care if you've got 1.4 million followers, dude.
Well, I would say it's a classic horror film. Yeah, for sure it is, 100%.
So I was like, all right, dude. I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see here. But I always like to get people we haven't got yet. Let's see here. Saudi fan says, do you guys like the band Story of the Year? I've never heard of them.
I've never heard of them either.
Never heard of them.
Here.
Interesting. Vegas Courier says, what do you do on Michael Myers' birthday, and what did you do last year?
I had a birthday cake all to myself.
What's his birthday? The 19th of October or something, I think they've said. I don't do anything because I don't ever think about it. I'm not that obsessed.
Ooh, I just gave myself an idea for a photo shoot.
Ooh, Michael Myers blowing out candles.
Little crossover with Happy Death Day.
Ah, nice. Let's see. Okay, two more questions because I got a few things I have to do.
Go ahead.
JJ says, "Did you hear about the Sheriff Brackett rumor? They're getting Cypress back."
What? Really? Let
me read you what I wrote. I'll read you what I wrote. I'm glad now, to be fair, JJ here called it a rumor, which is good that you use the word rumor. Let me read you what I posted to my social media before going on the show tonight. Okay? This is what I posted. The sites claiming that Charles Cyphers is returning in Halloween Kills need to slow it down. This news comes from an article from some site called Dark Universe, where Tom Atkins was interviewed. He said the following, and I quote, "I think Chuck Cyphers is going to be in the next one. He was in a bunch of those early ones, the original and a bunch thereafter, so he's going to be in it," end quote. Does this sound like a confirmation to you? A bunch of those early ones? You mean 2 movies, Tom?
Was he in the second one?
He was briefly in Halloween 2, yes.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah.
I am not suggesting that Charles Cyphers won't be in the movie. What I am saying is that to read that line and take it as confirmation is nonsense. This sounds like nothing more than casual banter about his support of the idea, not confirmation of it. There has been absolutely and unequivocally no confirmation of his participation in Halloween Kills. So I know that a lot of people were interested in my thoughts on that because obviously, I guess, being a Halloween guy, but also because in my concept idea video, I actually did have the character of Lee Brackett back, played by Charles Cyphers. But this was Tom Atkins speaking candidly in some interview, and he even says, "I think." He says, "I think," and then he completely fails at talking about Chuck Cyphers, as he calls him, Charles, his contribution to the Halloween franchise. He was in some of those early ones, and some there. No, he wasn't. He was in 2. He wasn't in any of the ones after that. So take this with a grain of salt. I mean, anything's possible. When I spoke to Charles Cyphers at the 40th anniversary convention, he told me that he refused an interview with me. Not refuse. I shouldn't say refuse, but he was kind of like, I don't really know. I'm retired now. He said he's retired now. He's no longer acting. He's retired. So I don't see Tom Atkins saying Chuck Cyphers is in. I know what he said, but I don't see it as that. And all these sites taking it as the gospel and running with it. It's like, fuck off with that shit. Could he be in the movie? He might, but this is not confirmation of it. And I don't care how much Dark Universe says they have sources. They might have sources. But this is not confirmation of it. It's not. So I did hear about it. It's nothing more than it's barely a rumor, in my opinion. Anyway. Okay, I'm done.
There you go. I had a question here. Why don't you grab another one while I'm looking for one here?
Okay, let's see here. Verisimilitude says, "After Halloween Kills, I'm done with Halloween. Enough already." There you go. Blu-ray Addict says, "They're still making Halloween Ends." Well, of course they are, yeah. Elliot Case, I think he's in the sense of maybe he won't be in this one, but he'll be in the next one. Maybe, but this isn't confirmation of it. Tom Atkins doesn't know shit. Okay, Tom Atkins isn't a producer. He's not attached to Blumhouse. Just because somebody is an alum of a particular property doesn't mean they have inside knowledge to what's going on. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that at all. Okay, when I do voiceover work for a trailer or for It or for Get Out, or if I'm doing a bunch of Staples ads like I did their back to school campaign, I'm there and I might casually talk to them, but I don't know what the fuck the producer's doing when they leave. I don't know what, whether they're gonna let's say that Tom Atkins is, he might, now that doesn't mean that he might not have heard something, But just that in and of itself, it's nothing. It's nothing. He says, I think Chuck is in it. He was in a bunch of those early ones, so yeah, I think he'll be in it. And people pick this up. If I did that interview, there's no way I would run with that headline. No way. It's incompetent. It's people just wanting the clicks. They're wanting the clicks. Dark Universe said, yeah, they ran this interview, and then they said that, you know, Tom Atkins says Charles Cyphers is in the next movie. God, come on, guys.
Let me tell you, that was the lesson I learned, and it's probably the reason why I felt like I didn't want to turn my channel into a gossip channel. But when I first got into doing YouTube videos, I had the bad habit of doing that, running with stories from uncreditable sources. That was just being amateur, not knowing who was credible, who was not credible, and realizing I didn't want to be a part of that. I didn't want to be, you know, making videos. Like, there was a dude here who got a ton of clicks on it, and simply because he titled it Daniel Harris is in the next Halloween. I'm not going to mention his name here on the stream, but I'm sure most of you guys know who I'm talking to or talking about. And of course, like, I clicked on it, but I also knew right away, like, no, there's no way Harris is in the new Halloween. And that's the kind of stuff that I didn't want to do. Like, I wasn't looking to gain attention by clickbait titles. Now, I understand that's the game, and that's the game you play on YouTube. But for me, I'd rather my credibility be in what's below, which is my photography and my photography work and the work that I'm putting into that, and that I'm actually creating something, okay? Anytime Dick and Harry talk about what other people are doing, I'd rather be out there in the game, putting my sweat and tears into something and creating shit. And I found myself, and it was through our friendship with you, and realizing, like, fuck, I'm not doing this the right way. I'm reporting on uncredible sources, and I don't want to be that guy. Some other people, they don't care. They want to be that guy.
Well,
power to you.
And this is the thing too to understand. Now, Dark Universe, I'm not familiar with them. But a lot of people are. They have a lot of followers. That's great. Does that mean that they're not credible or that they're lying? It doesn't mean that. But it's like, you know, it's not either or. It's this and this. So you have something. It's like, I've been critical of Bloody Disgusting on many occasions, and Bloody Disgusting is one of the most reputable online horror sources there is. But I've been critical of the way they've handled certain things, because I'm like, that's not what that means. It doesn't mean that. And you can't just say that you've got this, because, well, then why print it? Because of clicks. You know, and I get the game, I get the business, and then sometimes I do shit where I'm like, now that's how it should be done. And I'm not saying that you wait, you know, it's just that, it's just a pet peeve of mine, because it's a non-story, and it's Tom Atkins. Tom Atkins said that Chuck should be in the movie. Charles is in the, what the hell is Tom Atkins doesn't know shit. You know, he doesn't know, I mean, come on. You know, it's these actors don't necessarily know what's going on at the studio level and at the creative level. They are hired tools that are contractually obligated to play a part. And sometimes if you get big enough, you know, you make the transition over to certain areas, and you can become a director or producer, whatever the case is. And I'm not knocking Tom Atkins. I love Tom Atkins. We all do. I'm just saying, read his quote. I mean, look at his fucking quote. His quote is, I think Chuck Cyphers is going to be in this next one. I think. Okay. Well, what makes him think that? He was in a bunch of those early ones, the original, and a bunch thereafter. So he's going to be in it. What this tells me is that he thinks because Charles Cyphers was in a lot of those early Halloween movies, according to him, which is completely false, that why wouldn't they bring him into this next one? This isn't confirmation that Tom Atkins has any kind of inside knowledge. Maybe he does, but that's not confirmation of it. And that's something that I wouldn't run. I would run that interview, but I wouldn't then take that part of the interview and run it as like a separate story altogether. I would just, in that interview, just make note of that. Go, oh, wouldn't that be cool if Chuck came back? That's what I would point to. I wouldn't take that and then write a separate interview or a separate thing all around that, because it's a non-story. But people do it because it's clicks, and clicks is money. And it's I don't know. And I'm not knocking Dark Universe. I don't know them. They could be the coolest people in the world. I'm just knocking this execution that I see.
Atkins, Halloween 3, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, the doctor from Halloween 3. So I just think that before we lose our minds, let's remember that Charles Cyphers is retired. This isn't confirmation.
Wait, didn't he just do an interview too where he said he would love to make a cameo in the new Halloween as well too?
Tom Atkins? Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Absolutely.
Sounds like a Daniel Harris thing here, looking to see if he can find his way into this new run here.
Well, but the difference is that he doesn't appear desperate.
Hey, happy birthday, Nate.
Yeah, all I'm saying is that just take it with a grain of salt. Just remember, do your due diligence. Who's it coming from? What does the article actually say? Because I recently saw an article from JoeBlow.com, and they're a pretty big source. And their headline was Charles Cyphers is in the next Halloween. That's false. It's incorrect. And that's coming from Joe Blow. I believe it is.
Which is surprising that Joe Blow would do that.
Hang on. I just want to make sure that I get this right here.
Pretty credible, right?
He usually is. Let me just see. I thought there was... Here we go.
Nathan Oswald on your super chat. Happy birthday, dude. 22.
Happy birthday, Nathan. Awesome. Here's what it says on JoeBlow.com. Here's the headline. Charles Cyphers returns as Sheriff Brackett in Halloween Kills.
This is Joe Blow now.
This is JoeBlow.com. This is the headline. Charles Cyphers returns as Sheriff Brackett in Halloween Kills. So I saw that and I thought, oh, it must have been confirmed. I click on the article, and what comes up here is Halloween co-writer Danny McBride revealed recently that Blumhouse and director David Gordon Green's 2 new Halloween movies, and I thought I was about to read that, has just casted Charles Cyphers. But no, what it says is Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends will start filming in 3 weeks. Okay, that's true. We know that. And today we're hearing from My Bloody Valentine and Halloween 3 Season of the Witch Star that that Charles Cyphers will return as Sheriff Brackett in at least one of the flicks. Now, Joe Blow has it quoted as this. Chuck Cyphers is going to be in this next one. He was in a bunch of those early ones, the original and a bunch thereafter, so he's going to be in it. But wait a minute, that's not what the original source said. The original source had it quoted as, I think Chuck Cyphers is going to be in this next one. JoeBlow.com has removed the word think. Now which is it? Is it I think, or is it he is going to be in the next one? Well, since the article from Dark Universe, I believe, came out prior to this one, because this article from Charles Cyphers, this article about Charles Cyphers was posted 7 hours ago. The Dark Universe one was a few days ago. So, is this not... So, I read this on JoeBlow.com and I go, that's inaccurate. That's not what the source quote said. This is what you have to keep in mind. JoeBlow.com is running an article right now that says Charles Cyphers is going to be in the new movie. And who's their source? Tom Atkins. Are you kidding me? That's not journalism. The headline should read, Charles Cyphers, rumored to be in Halloween from Halloween alumni. What's wrong with that? Charles Cyphers, or Halloween alumni, Tom Atkins, thinks Charles... But of course, that's not sexy, right? That's not going to get clicks, but I just want my audience to know that I'm not knocking Joe Blow. I'm just saying that be careful, right? Look at what you're reading here. And if somebody from Joe Blow is watching this, dude, go back, rearrange that a little bit. You're not wrong with what you're saying, but you're being a little misleading. Well, you're not being a little misleading. You're being a lot misleading. Because there has been absolutely no confirmation from any official source whatsoever that Charles Cyphers is going to be in the new Halloween movie. None. And he's long retired. That doesn't mean he's not going to come out of retirement for this. Money, 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 money. Speaks, right? But there's no confirmation of this. So, not to go on and on here, but this is what we're dealing with. Be careful. Look into what you're reading. Joe Blow, the guy who wrote this article, was Mike Sprague. Mike, come on, buddy. I'm not saying that you deliberately did this. Maybe you weren't. Maybe you were just copy and pasting and you weren't thinking. Go back and put think in there, because it's not accurate what you just wrote. I mean, it is accurate, but it's misleading.
Respond to JT Grogan here, where he said Terrifier had an Elm Street vibe, and he says, I'm tripping. What I mean by that is when you look at Terrifier and all the night shots that they did utilizing the ambient light, it was very similar to what Wes Craven did with Nightmare on Elm Street and a lot of the night scenes and using that type of ambient lighting. I haven't seen that utilized as much in current horror films. A lot of my eyes, being a photographer, I can tell when it's a set design, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003, which we talked about earlier. Right. They created that using stage lighting. That's not natural lighting. When you look at Elm Street and a lot of those night shots we see in the alleyway or in the house, in the bedrooms, and that's ambient light that they're using. That's the real lights. That's out and wherever they were in Pasadena, right? That's where it was filmed, Pasadena, Elm Street.
Oh yes, yes, yeah. No. Elm Street was in the Elm Street house is in West Hollywood.
West Hollywood. Okay, but it was shot outdoors using the ambient light. Terrifier did the same shit. That's what I meant by the same vibe. It was the ambient lighting in the atmosphere of the movie. Right. Are the two movies the same? No, of course not. I just meant the tone of what I'm visually watching. Just to clarify.
Right, exactly. That's correct. Okay, now I've got ads all over the place here. Okay. All right, so...
here was the question now that I finally... Jeremy asked us, what's the most scared you've been in a non-horror movie?
Scared?
In a non-horror movie.
I'm not entirely sure. That's a good question. Scared?
Watched anything that's ever creeped you out and just like, there's a few Disney movies that kind of like, I don't like old school Disney movies. That
I don't think I have. I've watched like real life crime drama like 48 Hours or Dateline and things like that, where the stories have really creeped me out because it's real life shit. Yeah. And it's like, oh my God. Like, you know, like whether it's a murder or whether it's just like, yeah, that's creepy. Those stories, because it's real. Right. So I love watching those, you know.
This book I'm reading right now is creeping me the fuck out. It's based on a serial killer, Peter Kürten, who is a German serial killer. By far, this dude, man, he makes Bundy and Manson look like a fucking child. This dude did some real fucked up shit. So if anyone gets a chance, get this book. It's super thin. You can probably read it in a day. Yeah. My schedule, I can't. But what I've read so far, I don't know how people can get to those dark places. You know, it's funny because you and I, we love horror movies, and everyone in the chat room loves horror movies. Yes. But the shit that these people do, and like what Manson had people do for him, and what Bundy did, and what John Wayne Gacy did, and what Dahmer did, and Ian did, and like, I don't know how someone can get there to do that to another human being. Right. Seeing it on a big screen, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, it's make-believe, it's pretend. You know, telling scary stories goes back to the beginning of time. You know, sitting around a campfire trying to scare each other. It just evolved to what we see now on the big screen. It's make-believe. It's not real. But to get to that shit, I don't know how a person can get to that level and do that type of shit to another human being. I really don't. This booker is, holy shit. Get this book. You telling you, man, you'll read the most disturbing shit you have ever read.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I remember you telling me about him. I can't wait to. Okay, folks, that's gonna do it for us here on episode 35 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and of course taking a bunch of your questions at the end there. We went a little longer than we normally do because of course we wanted to make up for lost time and Sunday night and yada yada yada. Tony and I will be back either next Sunday or Monday. I might have to push it to Monday because I might have something going on, but yeah. Me. Okay, but I'll know more in a little bit. But yeah, thanks very much for the super chats. It is greatly appreciated. Thank you for all the questions. As usual, if we don't get to all your questions, obviously it's nothing personal, just so many people in the room, and we like to be thorough. We think you guys are awesome, and we will be back very soon. So if you want to follow Tony Michael on Instagram, his Instagram is below his photo there. And my Instagram is now below my photo here because I'm trying to build some Instagram followers up because I've only had Instagram for, about a month now, I guess, or something?
Yeah, you're already at 1,000 almost.
I think so. Something like that. Yeah.
1,000 in a month, man. A lot of other Instagrammers out there would be loving that kind of numbers. Shit.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy shit. It's crazy shit.
Bay Ken, the name of the book is it's called Monster, and it's the true story of serial killer Peter Curtin. I'm probably saying that wrong on the last name, and the author is C.L. Sweeney.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So,
cool.
Like I said, it's 116 pages. Nice. I mean, you could literally read it in a day.
I can't wait to see that or to read that. Like, I'm going to read all because I love that shit. I love to get. I like creeping myself out.
We need to start doing real serial killers here.
Oh yeah. No. We're definitely going to do it. All right, folks. That's it for us. We'll talk to you guys later.